Hello and welcome to Pub Goth Transmission. Today we are talking about 28 years later, the new Danny Boyle whatever movie, Alex Garland, the latest one in the series that came out, fucking 12? No, 2007 was the last one. How many years is that? Someone quick maths.
13?
2007?
2007?
Yeah,
That's
13 years ago.
Wait, no, I've
that
completely
13
fucked this
years
up.
ago?
My God.
Dude, 23.
18 years
23.
ago.
Why
18 years ago.
Welcome to Pub Goth Transmission, the show where three people fail to do the most basic arithmetic and cannot pronounce words.
We're intelligent, I swear.
I'm so glad that we decided to do a podcast where we talk a lot when I can't even say the word arithmetic, nor can we do very basic arithmetic. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about 28 years later, and also, Scarlett and I, we've got a special guest, Scarlett, on today.
Hello.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay.
She's okay. And we're going to be talking about a little bit about our experience at Tolminator Fest in Slovenia. So, Adam, how you been?
I've been alright. Slight amounts of fascism over in east of Essex and east of London and then Islington, but they were beaten back because still holding a line there. And mostly just having a very conflicted relationship to Ozzy Osborne.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And rest in power, Ozzy Osborne. So yeah, we were in Slovenia a couple of weeks ago for Tolminator Fest.
We were.
And it was good. So if you don't know, there used to be a festival called Metal Days. Before that was a festival called Metal Camp. And the significance of this festival is that when you get there, it's basically in the Sochi Valley, Tolmin, Slovenia, with the Socha River, which is known as the Emerald of Europe. And when you get there, you look around and go, Jesus Christ, why on God's green earth are they letting a metal festival happen here? You know, it looks like it should be some sort of like preserved sanctuary that only a few monks kind of know about.
I think they filmed some of Narnia there, actually.
Yeah, they were
That's what
saying, I didn't know, Narnia was
Yeah.
apparently filmed there. So it's a truly magical place. And I don't really say that about anything, but it is. And so, yeah, no, we had a really good time. It used to be a bigger festival, like 15,000. Now it's about 5,000 people. You know, smaller bands. The second stage is now the main stage. The main stage is now a road, and and there's a stage on the beach because there's basically the river, the Socha River runs through the festival, which is like a big forest campsite. And yeah, so what did we do? We flew to Ljubljana first.
We were in Ljubljana for a couple of days.
Yeah, and our flight was delayed, of course, EasyJet. Not as bad as Wizz Air, though. Last year, when we, including Adam, went to the Czech Republic, I got an email in the text or an email saying, as compensation, we've booked you a hotel in Luton. I was like, what?
And me and Adam did not get that.
Adam got nothing.
Only Archie.
Scott nothing.
Text.
And then after
So
that,
we thought it was a scam.
and then after that, I got a text saying your flight's been delayed, blah blah blah. And I looked at it, I thought, looks like a scam. This looks like a fake. Like they know I'm getting a flight, and they sent me a phishing thing, and I pressed the link,
only
and
you
it's
that got it.
yeah, it was sus as hell.
Had no idea. Like we were.
It seemed like one of those fake you need to pay
It's
for
really
delivery
weird.
ones. And so I was like, let's just fucking ignore it. And while we're on the train up, Adam gives us a phone call and was like, guys, the flight has been delayed a day until tomorrow. And then, so we just spent the day in Hackney and then big up that pizza place.
Embry Tavern.
That's in the area. Yeah,
that
yeah,
pizza
yeah.
place is amazing. I want to go there again at some point.
Yeah, that's a good point. We should go there again at some point.
Yeah.
And and then we just had to get the flight the next day, stayed in a hotel in Luton. You know, Scarlett and I didn't feel like...
We didn't accept the changes. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I tried to ring up because there was a flight later that day, so I tried to ring them up and be like, why haven't you put us on that flight? Put us on that flight. And they were like, oh, you want to change flight, do you? And I was like, what? So you accept the changes? I was like, what do you mean? Do you accept the changes? I was like, what do you mean the changes? Like, do you accept them? And I'm like, okay. So you've accepted the changes. You need to pay £400. I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
We saw some poor American guy near us that
we
did
warned
accept the
him,
changes.
and we were like, just
And
whatever they say, they're going to try and trick you into.
He was charged
and
£800.
We just heard that was that how much
Yeah.
it was?
He was charged £400 for him and £400 for his girlfriend, so they charged him £800.
Yeah, I just heard a very angry American. I was thinking, I did warn you, mate. But...
He wasn't even that angry. He was
We
just
just
kind of
stayed
like,
in-
oh man, I just don't know what's happening, man. I mean, they said we to accept the changes, and I'm like,
He should have been more angry. I would have been more angry.
He should have been absolutely livid. He should have not burned
Should have been
the
devastated.
aircraft to the ground because that would have been incitement or something. So he shouldn't have done that. But, you know, definitely should have been a bit more angry. But yeah, so our flight was delayed a day. Scarlett and I did get our revenge. I won't go into details. All I'm saying is poor circulation. I needed to adjust her flight socks. Anyway, this year...
You just had
This
to bring it
ye-
up.
This year, EasyJet, so we were only delayed about 90 minutes, which is a step in the right direction.
Just gotta take that. We just got to, you know, have some beer in the airport, chill.
Yeah,
It was
and
fun.
we got there.
I was like, after last year, I don't care.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
I'll take anything as long as it's not a day.
Yeah.
To stay in Luton.
We got to Ljubljana and we got there like midnight, and I was like, "Oh, let me show you a bit of Ljubljana." That's how you say it, by the way. If you're ever going to Slovenia, you don't have to be that
Yeah.
indigo. I need to get to Ljubljana.
Get to the fucking Ljubljana.
But anyway,
come on.
I show Scarlett around the area, and it's literally quieter than a Somerset village. Like on a Sunday night, Ljubljana is quieter than a sleepy Somerset village. There was just nothing
nobody,
anywhere.
No cars.
No cars.
No people.
Don't think. Yeah, we were looking for a bar that was open. Everywhere was closed.
No corner shops.
We tried
no
walking
convenience
to Metal
stores,
Cova.
Nowhere to get food or drink. Like
Yeah, we went to Metal Cova, which is kind of like this art project, kind of anarchist, bohemian type dealy. It was kind of dead. Some guy was like, "Oh, I can give you a beer, but I've got no change." And we were like, "Well, I don't want to get 4 beers because, you know, I want to go to bed." And then we bumped into some random guy, and he was like, "I can give you a beer." And we
Takes
went
us to his
back,
car.
takes us to his van, gives us a couple cans of Union, and just chatting to us for a bit with his mate. And it's quite funny because he was like, "Oh, we've been skiing today." And I was like, "Just when you go skiing?" And then he was making reference to
in our noses.
in our noses, he said, yeah. And so he was chatting to us, and he was like, "Oh, I've got this air." He was in America. He's like, "I got this Airbnb. You should have stayed there." And I was, and he added him on like Instagram, on my Instagram. And when we were walking back later on, I looked at his Instagram page. Oh yeah, another thing he did. This is going to come up later
So
on.
nice.
This is going to come up later on. This is relevant. So I'm actually going to... This is relevant to 28 years later, so I'll call back to this moment. First thing he does when I talk about Metal Days is bring up his phone to show me pictures of his Slovenian ex-wife, which I always think is a bit weird. Like, it is a
thing
thing
for 5 minutes.
that types of guys
"Here's a
do, where they're
picture of my
showing you a picture of your
ex."
ex-wife.
I don't know who
And
you
I'm like,
are.
am I supposed to go, "Oh yeah, that's
Oh yeah, you really fumbled that. Oh
And then-
god, yes.
I looked at his Instagram, and it's all, he's like a life coach for men with this kind of like vaguely, you know, misogynistic, like helping men heal
yeah.
from toxic feminine
It was so
energy
dire,
and stuff like
Adam,
that.
So dire.
It was
It was
funny.
really bad.
But it's like really shit tier memes. It's kind of fun. I still follow because it's funny. Anyway, so that was our first night at Ljubljana. The next day, we just kind of hung out with a friend of ours in Ljubljana, had some food, got some very good vegan sushi.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was so
real good.
Tolminator sushi.
Yeah,
We
the
go to, like,
Tolminator
a
sushi.
vegan sushi place, and then they just have
Yeah,
Tolminator
Vagashi.
sushi. on
Is it
the
still
menu.
all
Recommend
vegan?
Gashi, big up Gashi.
No, that's
Because Metal Days was also like
Yeah, but
mostly vegan, wasn't it?
it's sort
yeah,
of
but this wasn't even in the
30,
festival. This
40%.
was just like a vegan
Yeah.
sushi place in the city.
But apparently they were
Tolminator
Tolminator
sushi.
last year, but
Mm.
they weren't this year. They're called
Yeah.
Vagashi. Recommend Vagashi. And then so that was basically our first day.
Yeah,
The
it was so
next
good.
day, our friend gave us a lift first to Decathlon, pick up camping chairs
Big up Jean.
and air
Jean
mattresses.
really sorted us
Big
out.
up,
big-
Sean.
big
Haven't seen him in
shouts.
years. Lovely fella.
Big shouts to Sean, lovely bloke. He drove us all the way down, like his mum's partner drove us all the way to Tom, so we didn't have to get trained, didn't have to
Yeah,
get
we got
transfer.
direct.
Also drove us all the way back, and later on his parents drove us to the airport from Ljubljana. So
Yeah, they
mad shouts out to Sean. Yeah, we got to the festival, and I was showing Scarlett around, but it was a lot more empty to camp. Usually the forest gets rammed, but we got a really good spot.
We got 6 spots.
Relatively flat earth, minimal tree roots, clearable rocks, shade, no direct sunlight hitting tent until about 3 p.m. back of the net. Even on like 30-degree days, it was cool in the tent because
So
big
you avoided the
burning trees.
curse.
So yeah.
You avoided the curse of Tolman.
We avoided.
So for listeners, Archie
We
has a
avoided-
curse
yeah.
that follows him around Metal Days. But I think it's been dispelled now that the road has cleared the path.
Maybe because it's Tolminator
Yeah.
Metal Day.
It's a combination of
Been dispersed.
It's actually a combination of it being Tolminator now, me being a bit older and like less reckless, or let's just be honest, just less energetic now to do reckless, crazy shit, and also extremely strong immunosuppressant drugs that they give to people who've had organ transplants. So the three magic ingredients, really, because my first metal days was in 2016, a young, sprightly 21-year-old. And the event there was, there's like a bar on the beach at night, which they, funny enough, don't have that bar on the beach open at night anymore. Not sure if it had anything to do with that, but it was pitch black, and I can't remember why I was trying to walk down to the river, like down a gradual incline. So I'm walking down this gradual incline, feeling it with my feet because I can't really see. And then suddenly I just fell in the river because it actually wasn't a gradual incline; it was just like a cliff edge. And there was a tree in the river. And I just hit my face on the tree on the way down. Lost my glasses; they were gone in the river. I had to wear my prescription sunglasses for the rest of the festival, and I had just this fat gash on my face that got kind of swollen. So that was 2016's injury. 2017's injury, I was very drunk and definitely not on lots of MDMA because that's an illicit substance. I don't really remember exactly what happened. I remember being down at the river and falling over a lot. And then I woke up in my tent in like loads of pain. And then I was like confused. My tent looked different. And I realized it wasn't my tent. It was a friend's tent. And I realized I'd basically split my toe open. And because I think I was still drunk, and people were like, let's go float down the river, which you can do at Metal Days or Tom, and you just walk up the river with the inflatable and then float down. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I just duct taped my toe up and just went. And then later I was like, right, I should probably go to the medical tent. And when I went there, peeled out, open the fucking duct tape, and there was just my toe just packed with mud. Like, it was just completely unclean. And so that got cleaned and dressed up, and I couldn't go on the river for the rest of the festival. And that took a while. I've still got a big scar on my toe from that. 2018, scabies. A severe infected eczema and scabies. I had to sleep in a separate tent from my partner at the time. I had to spend a lot of time going up to the pharmacy, which was right at the top of the hill, and yeah, that was extremely difficult. And the last day I woke up with my like sleeping bag fabric fused to my flesh and my shirt fused to my flesh, and there was no time, I just had to rip it all off. And when I stayed at a hostel that night. When I woke up, I'd been oozing green all night, and the sheets were hard and crusty with green.
So dire.
Yeah, that was pretty dire. I probably should have just gone to hospital. And I woke up, not only that, and I woke up with an ear infection in that hostel, and then had to go to the doctor in Ljubljana. And yeah, so that was 2018. Do you know what, though? 2022 I was rather unscathed. So actually the curse was broken in 2022. I came back
Was
relatively
that the hostel
unscathed.
when everyone, like most people we were with, ended up having like night terrors or like sleep paralysis demons?
That was 2017. Everyone went back to this hostel. I was in a different room. Everyone was seeing these ghosts. And there was like, I think that the Airbnb's not haunted. I think maybe you've just been very drunk and on substances and haven't slept properly
You know why?
for the last 7 days.
I went to bed solo, and
now
I
you're
woke up
all
and there were
having
just
sleep
3 other people in my bed, and I'm like, fucking hell, how much did I drink last night? And like, oh sorry, like we all had like fucking sleep paralysis demons, and I'm like, sorry, what?
Yeah. Well, they didn't even realise it was sleep paralysis. They thought the place was haunted, literally, at this point.
Funny. It's hilarious.
But yeah, this time there was nothing like that, and we saw. The festival. I think first day was no bands. We're just getting our bearings, going to the Hofer.
The other thing I was going to mention was when we got to Tolmin, our friends were like staying in a B&B in Tolmin Village. Like some of us were camping. It was sort of like half and half. So we all met up to have a meal just before the festival.
Oh yeah,
and get pizza. And yeah, as soon as we all sat down and we were all together from going all our separate ways, we all opened our phones, and the first thing we see is Ozzy Osbourne's passed away, which is really sad.
I felt a bit mean because so many people were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he's dead," and I was just thinking, really, you can't believe the guy famous for doing too many drugs, who's really old and has not had a working brain for the last 25 years. You're really surprised that guy's dead?
I mean, I think it wasn't like surprised he was dead. I think it was more like weird timing. It's like we'd all just sat down, we were all together, and suddenly we're starting our holiday, and then it's Ozzy Osbourne's dead. It was just like,
he timed it well, though, to be fair.
Like, yeah, I think it's like one of them things where, like, obviously he did that big final show, and I think sometimes people's bodies hold out until after something like that.
Some people snuff it on stage.
Yeah. I remember what I was, because I was just sitting there in my front room, and then my flatmate Billy just came down. She just heard a yell going, "Oh my god, Ozzy's dead!" And I'm like, fucking hell, give me like a run up for that. Like, it's like, God. And I just felt kind
It's
of
just
bad.
like I feel like one of
Mm.
the things where it's like we obviously it was going to happen, but it's just it went on for so long not happening that it just felt, it was like, whoa, like it just felt really, didn't feel real.
Yeah.
Like
I was just looking at my phone like, oh my god, guys, Keith Richards is still alive. I can't believe it.
I mean, I went down the Hellgeese. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, I should probably go down to like the Black Sabbath bar or something. It feels like historic. So I went down there, and it was just I had like a beer and a shot, and they were playing loads of Ozzy, but like it was just me and a bunch of other
Yeah.
solo sad fuckers who were like, yeah, I should probably do this.
that
And
was
I was
like,
like, ah, it's kind of boring. So I left, but on the way back, I
Yeah.
bumped some old like Cockney geezer, and he was like, I wasn't wearing like I wasn't wearing like an Ozzy Osborne or a Black Sabbath shirt. I was wearing like a Motorhead t-shirt and a fucking like mortician cap. But he just stopped me and said, "You're right, mate. I don't know if you know this right, but I'm sorry to tell you this, but Ozzy Osbourne's died." And, like, so he stopped to give me
That's really
condolences.
That's
And
so
it was
cute.
awesome. He was like, "Oh, God loves a Brummie though, Danny." And I'm like, "Yes, he does, mate. If you go and Helge's is down there if you fancy a pint." And then we just had we had a brief conversation. I was like, actually, that was really nice. Obviously, Ozzy Osbourne
No,
is a
that is
domestic abusing pro-Zionist, so we just have to get that out there. So obviously,
I mean, is he a pro-Zionist, or is his brain just mainly just sort
I
of
mean,
sludge
that's the sort of thing
at
that
that
does
point?
require. I mean, your brain being sludge is kind of the requirement to be a Zionist.
It's not hard, yeah, and also it's not hard to be like Grima worm-tongued when your brain has been sludged for like 30
Yeah.
years by
But
Sharon.
but I don't go to Ozzy Osbourne for my political valences in the same way that I don't care about the values of the Carphone Warehouse
Yeah.
or Dying Fetus's views on income tax, which are very pronounced in some of their songs, I must say. Conceived into Enslavement from The Sentence to Depravity is a song about income tax, and that changed my view of them
Of
for
course
life.
it is. Like I've always I've always known that they have I've always known when I hear tinglings of their politics and I recognize it. I'm just gonna go, oh, I like it because the lyrics where it goes
Dying Fetus.
Like fetus.
Yeah. This is the best thing about death metal is you can just like kind of ignore it. Like, oh, is he going like, oh, it's made song titles. There's conceived in
Conceived into
slavery.
Enslavement. It's just a song about income tax. It's just very funny.
But you've also got Justifiable Homicide, which is always like a kind of right wing gun nut fantasy of justifiably killing someone. And then you've got From Womb to Waste, which is a sort of relatively like anti single mother kind of deal, anti abortion kind of thing. So, I just ignore the song titles, listen to the riffs, and just pretend all the lyrics are which is the best way. That is the lyrics, yeah.
What do you mean? Saying anything.
Yeah, that's the way to enjoy. Top tip. That's how you should enjoy Dying Fetus. But yeah, so that was the first night, and we got back and everyone was blasting Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
which
like
was
you
nice.
pass every cab,
Every time.
everyone on their speaker is Ozzy, Black Sabbath. No
And I
one's
was like,
listening to anything else.
Would it
That
be
was like
disrespectful to play
inspirational.
Headless Cross right now?
Well, there's no one stopping him now. Like Tony Martin, he could come back.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Max heard about this,
Yeah.
and he's just gone.
Tony
Martin
Martin
tour.
tour.
Tony Martin tour. Yeah, but yeah, Tolminator. So
Tolminator Festival.
yeah, I don't know if any of you have heard the song. If you're listening, Terminator
listening
X
to
on the
it.
edge of panic, and basically Chuck D goes Terminator X is, and then the beat goes. Wait, pause this and look up the song Terminator X on the edge of panic. Yeah, it's a sick tune in it, right? So we were like, as a joke, I started going, so I got in my head going, Tolminator Festus, and now we just keep doing it. It's a bit of
Become a bit of a stimothy.
bit of a stimothy, bit of an earworm, that one. But who played the first day? Because I'm forgetting.
No bands the first day.
I mean the first day with the band.
Because the first day was beach day.
First day was beach
And then,
day.
It was Ghost Bath. Love
Ghost Bath.
Yeah.
He played an
Ghost
excellent
Bath and
set.
Creator.
Yeah, Ghost Bath and Creator.
There were other bands, but I think those were the only two bands.
Was that the day Fulci were playing? Was that?
No,
the day?
that was the day after. Yeah.
after.
Yeah, the first day I definitely only saw Ghost Bath and Creator.
Yeah.
When I had a migraine, I was dying.
See,
Yeah,
Ghost
yeah,
Bath
yeah.
with a migraine. Fucking hell.
That's how much I love Ghost Bath.
They were really good.
Yeah.
I love
My
Ghost
favourite
Bath.
Chinese
I
band,
dragged
to
myself-
be fair. My favourite Chinese band.
And then okay, so that was that day, and then in the
No.
evening, what went on was
The Creator.
Creator, and then we
Yeah.
just went to bed, didn't we?
I had the migraine.
You had the
so I
migraine,
went
so
to
we
bed.
just
I
had a
think you
little
did as well.
sleepy.
A little sleepy.
The day after that was that Fulci and
Fulci, gastritis.
gastritis.
I was playing Tolminator.
Scarlett had gastritis when we
I
went,
had gastritis just before we went.
and it
Lost went
fortunately cleared
away.
up
But there was some
right
gastritis
before.
on the lineup, and I was like, of course, gastritis.
Yeah, of course, there's a band called Gastritis. So
They
yeah,
sounded exactly what they sounded exactly like what you think they sound like. Like we were
Yeah.
like this. We already knew what gastritis would sound
Yeah,
like.
you
before
already
we
know
saw
about
Like brutal
gastritis.
death.
Like,
right.
it's
Yeah,
gore.
Yeah, it's gonna be gore
Galaxy,
grindy
yeah,
soon. So who else? You saw gastritis. I saw we saw other bands on that day.
Gastritis.
Saw
Fulci, midnight.
Midnight. We
Midnight.
saw Midnight on that day.
And then it was fucking. Wasn't it Nurgle doing Me and That Man?
Oh fucking
Oh.
hell!
Reading the
Yeah.
manual.
I wasn't.
I
I
did-
was.
I
I was
did
right at the
Archie's
back.
Cradle of Filth.
Okay, so like I learned something really important from my experience at Tolminator. Like, there's a real kind of road to Damascus moment when I was watching Cradle of Filth, and I just had this epiphany. I thought, Cradle of Filth are fucking wank. Like they're just fucking wank. Absolute wank. They're like, I've seen them twice now live. I saw them in 2013 or 14 when they're supporting Behemoth at the Forum, and I stood through all of that because I want to see Behemoth. And then I stood through all of this. I don't know why I stood through all of it. You know, I'm in Tolman. I could have gone to the beach or something. But instead, it's like they start playing a riff. And I'm like, this riff's pretty good. This riff's pretty good. And then it changes, and it's just Danny Phil going. And it's just like it's like some musicians that have some relatively competent music, but just don't understand how good music works, and they just refuse to be good at any moment. Every song, there are bits you're like, this could be a good song, and then it would. And it was just shit. And we just kept looking at each other and this is fucking shit.
It almost sounded like grindcore, and then I was like,
Yeah, there'd be like a blast beat, you'd be like, this is good. And then it would just stop and it would be some crappy other bit. And you just like.
Also, Danny Filth was gurning so much on stage. I couldn't stop laughing. He had a proper gurn face on.
Yeah. So
it's like, Jesus Christ. Every time he went off stage, we were like, he's going to do more lines. Like, I've never seen somebody gurn. I don't know, like, out of all the musicians I saw at Tolminator, Danny Filth was not the one I expected to see, like, gurning his face off the whole set. It was so funny. Biggest gurn face of Tolminator goes to Danny Filth.
Like, Cradle have some good
Surprising
songs, but
one.
I've never heard a good thing about them live. It's like, if you see them live, you have to be like a real Cradle of Filth head to look past everything about their fucking live sets. Because like his vocals
well,
live are fucking annoying, and like it's weird. Okay, so our Cradle of Filth Pub Goth. This is the thing, though. I mean, are they even goth? Because like they used to be the butt of the joke in every goth joke.
Then
not
no,
very
because
pub.
they're not
They're
fucking
goth,
cool enough.
But they're not very pub.
They're not fucking cool enough. Like, no, they're not allowed in. I'm sorry. The door is barred.
Like Cradle of Filth.
The gate is
letting the team down by not being into them. But
I would like Cradle of Filth if they weren't fucking wank. But as we've established.
Anyway, the next day,
wank.
We saw Party Cannon.
Oh, was that Party Cannon on the beach?
That was not Party Cannon in the store, but it was Party Cannon on the beach, which was
Party Cannon on the beach.
Dope Throne. We also hung out with
we hung out with the bass player from
He was
Dope
at our
Throne.
campsite until like 5 in the morning. He was really nice. Tamsin gave him the phone because he lost his phone.
Rare reversal. Rare role reversal.
Right? Held the turntables. Ahab
were great. Ahab were really good.
Yeah, they were sick.
Yeah.
Glister, they were sick.
Glister.
Well.
Yeah, big up Glister. Shout out to. Oh no, it's really annoying because I did remember his name while we were there. I was like, no, it's.
Okay. I forgot the guy from Dope Throne's name as well.
Like, really nice guy, vocalist from Glister. Anyway, you know who you are.
Glister,
You're not listening. He doesn't watch this podcast. Why am I saying this?
Maybe you will, but I'm sure.
Lovely Serene bloke. Can't remember his name.
He watches it.
Great band, Glister. GL.
Rotting Christ, who got me out of my bad trip.
Yeah, Rotting Christ. always love Rotting Christ.
It's a fucking.
They're at every fucking.
They had to put a fucking set list together.
Yeah, I mean they're a great band. I really like Rotting Christ. Was there anyone else we saw?
That was it for that day.
That was it for that day. Did we do anything in the evening? No, I think most evenings I just sat in a campsite.
I think that evening was when we were hanging out by the piano bar, and we went into the party tent.
Oh
They're playing the ringtone music.
Oh god. Okay, so yeah, so there's a bar by the main stage where they have a guy who plays like bar piano covers of metal songs. He's pretty good, and to be fair, Man put his fucking shifts in. He was there every day for hours. I hope he was getting well paid because he was just playing for hours and hours.
Every
Can't really
day.
sing though, but
I enjoyed it though.
I enjoyed it a
Fear
lot.
of the dark.
Yeah, he did so many tracks.
Yeah.
And then they had this like party building type dealie.
Yeah, not party tent, party building.
Yeah, it was a building. And that was good at times and really shit at
It
other
was
times.
good in the goth night.
Yeah, there was a
Shit all the
goth
other
night.
times.
They were playing proper
That
tunes.
was the last.
A lot of the other nights, it would be like some Eurodance shit.
Eurodance, but it honestly just it was like this.
It sounds like a 2006 polyphonic ringtone.
Yeah,
all of it.
it's not like any Eurodance I've ever heard. Maybe I'm not European enough to understand.
No, that's the thing. The thing about like mainly Europeans is like they just have bad taste in electronic music.
Always, I like.
Like
some
I mean,
Eurodance.
we have
This
boring
wasn't-
and shit.
This wasn't like any Eurodance I've ever heard. It was. I don't even know what genre you could say it was.
It's just shitty Eurodance, but we have boring house.
Honestly, got
They have
some-
annoying Eurodance.
Yeah, and then the last day,
Last day,
Real Sphincter.
Nice.
Sphincter,
fucking
shout
sick.
out, really good, love them, and they're
Mm.
explicitly left wing and political, and I like that.
Love.
What else?
Hell Ripper.
Hell Ripper, they are a band. No, I like Hell Ripper,
Cracking
but
lads.
Yeah,
it's not
good
entirely
fun.
my thing. But they're fucking good at what they do. They get the people
enjoy
going. They're
them.
provocative.
They definitely going. They get Porsche going.
Yeah.
Um.
Oh, we didn't watch DRI, but we should have.
Oh,
well.
I didn't even realize DRI were on after Hell Ripper.
I think it was Hell Ripper, and then we didn't see anything until Ministry.
Fucking Ministry.
Oh,
Do they
King
play any
Ministry.
synth pop
It's
tunes?
No, they played just like they only played for like 45 minutes, which is a bit annoying. And it was just wall to wall classics.
She actually played for longer. We missed the first.
Well, it was shitting it with rain, right? It was shitting it with rain the whole time, and the people that we were with did not want to see Ministry.
Yeah, when we say shitting it down with rain, it was torrential.
We're talking
I was
Melt
talking Melt
Banana
Banana,
OEF
yeah.
20. It was literally a repeat of that, but
Yeah.
now with Ministry.
Because they were the last band on. Like,
Yeah.
if people didn't want to see Ministry, people just left the festival at this point.
Yeah.
So everyone was leaving. And it was just like, we were huddled under the shelter. We missed only a song and a half. Unfortunately, that song was Thieves.
Oh, we missed
But we're going to see
Thieves.
them again next week.
We didn't realise until
Seeing them
later
again
on.
next week. Adam, you should come.
No, I'm
Is
in,
it playing
I'm
on
in, I'm
Monday?
in
But yeah.
Barcelona.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah,
So,
Barcelona, yeah.
So yeah, we sort of like went to we went when we thought they started. We headed to the stage and they'd already started, and obviously like headliners, we were like, oh, we're just gonna sort of get a spot at the back. But this is the band we've been the most excited for the whole festival, and we get there and we just managed to walk straight to the fucking barrier because it's literally like this torrential storm. So
Yeah.
most people have left. So there's not a lot of people. Still a lot of people, but enough. We could just literally walk through the crowd, and we were just at the barrier. So close to Ministry, and it's just like torrential rain. It was fucking amazing. I feel like I kept saying it's one of those gigs I'm definitely going to remember for the rest of my life. Like, it's just amazing.
Ow!
It was so good. But yeah, it was literally like Melt Banana all over again, where it was just me and Archie in the torrential rain.
And the funny thing happened was
Soaking
that
wet.
I noticed that the keyboard player was wearing the T-shirt of a certain clothing brand that Scarlett used to work for, and as soon as I pointed this out to her, she literally doubled over on the ground and started
Wait,
throwing
that
up,
one? Wait,
vomiting
that
on the
one.
floor.
The keyboard player's wearing a
That one.
Dog shirt.
And
I was like,
Okay, we're naming it.
yeah.
I just wanted to
Fine.
name
And as soon as he said Cyberpunk, I just started
Just
throwing
threw
up.
up on the floor.
Because of that, or it was just a coincidence. Maybe it was my body just reacting. I literally just started vomiting on the ground for about 10 minutes. I was just like,
The
And then yeah, I mean, so that was Ministry. They were fucking immense. They sounded really
so
good.
good.
And then that night we just, I don't know, stayed up a little bit and drank. And then the next day we got lift back to Ljubljana, and then our flight was until the evening,
Yeah.
so we went to another good food place that had good vegan food and good non-vegan food.
And it was Japanese.
And it's Japanese cuisine. Yeah, all the food we ate in Ljubljana was
They
Japanese.
do pretty good Japanese in Ljubljana, I'm not gonna lie. The Chinese food places are kind
I
of hit
forget
and
the name
miss.
of the place, but it was good.
And it's
Yeah.
because that's where you can, I don't know, Japanese food generally, when you're not in Japan, there's good vegan options.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's, I feel
yeah,
like
in
that's why we
Japan's a
end
lot
up
harder.
going to Japanese.
So-
Yeah. I can't remember what it was called, but we had some really nice. Archie had his first Poke Bowl.
Yeah.
Even though Poke Bowls
Pokeball.
actually-
Sorry.
yeah, I was about to say that's Hawaiian. I was like, what,
Actually-
what the fuck?
it's Hawaiian, but a lot of Japanese places serve it because I think it's sort of.
I think it's like a
Recover.
Hawaiian. I think it might be like
Asian.
an East
Hawaii's
Asian
not an
emigre
Asian,
thing.
Yeah, like. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's like I guess they have like donburi bowls, but a lot of Japanese places now offer them, calling them poke bowls. But
Pokeballs.
but get some Japanese poke bowls, Asian fusion.
It's all the
So
stuff we can in
yeah.
civilization. Unless civilization somehow collapsed due to a virus. It almost did recently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you say
true.
that.
True. So yeah. Anyway, to round it off, then we basically got what happened? We went to a bar for
We
a bit.
stayed in the same bar for like
We
6
stayed in the bar
months.
for about 6 hours
We
because
left for 10 minutes and went back.
Yeah, we just went back
somewhere else and we went back.
And the good thing was I took out 30 euros and
fixation.
ended up spending exactly 30 euros, not even on purpose there, with no change. It was very satisfying. And yeah, but it was cool in there. It was
really
quiet. There was no one in
hungry as
there.
well. I was like, I need to be in the shade and the cool.
And so yeah, and they were playing really good music. It was like some funk FM or something.
Yeah,
it was just
funky,
rages
it was
after
fine.
rages. And then we got a lift. Shout out again to Jean's parents who gave us a lift.
That was so nice of them.
Then our flight was delayed.
Because there was a storm. There was a storm.
Yeah, then our flight was delayed because there was a storm, which is annoying because when it's a reasonable reason, you can't even complain about it. Got back to Gatwick, got home, all good. And that was Slovenia.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Would go back again.
Also, big
It
up
was
Slovenia,
amazing.
Wanna go back
first
next
country to impose an arms embargo on Israel.
Yeah, all those arms are definitely...
All the arms they're sending to
famously,
yeah, all the arms Slovenia makes.
famously, the Slovenians are huge arms
They might do a few parts.
No. Yeah, they probably do, actually. I mean, I don't want to take away from it. Shout out to them. I just found it's quite funny. It's like industrial juggernaut Slovenia has decided to whip. Anyway. Now we're going to talk about the 28 years later movie. So, spoilers. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers. If you haven't seen it yet, don't watch this. Pause it. Buy cinema tickets. All right. You pick your seats. Okay, now you can go. We'll wait for you. We'll just wait for you to go and see it. Like, I don't know when the screening is.
Here's playing the part
But
of the
we'll be
audience.
here. Let us know. Let us know when you've seen it and come back and just we'll be here. We'll be here. Maybe get some popcorn. To be honest, security at the cinema is surprisingly lax these days. Like I before going to 28 years later in the Croydon View, I was doing a DJ set for Kronk's Live, which will be out at some point if they decide to release it. I was a bit rusty on the decks, so it's a little bit at points, but very pub goth set. It's metal into hip hop into drum and bass jungle. There's Ministry in there, and Bauhaus, so very pub goth. But I had 4 cans of Red Stripe for the set, as is traditional. But I had one left over, and I just put it in my bag. I expected it to get taken off me. You're going to wait, and there's no bag check. There's no nothing. I could have brought fucking crate in and no one would have noticed. I don't even think you need to buy a ticket. I think you could literally just walk straight to the screen and watch whatever you wanted with your bag full of stuff. And there's also this Asian...
Yeah, they don't check bags anymore.
Speaking of Asian fusion...
But we're obsessed with Asian food. I'm not going to
lie. There's an Asian food court now in Croydon, in Grants, by the View. And it's really good. It's authentic. Like, you can tell it's authentic because there's a lot of East Asian people eating there and there's loads of offal all over the menu. So you know it's legit. It's not diluting it for Western standards.
Yeah, I didn't know if it'd be like Western Asian food, but
it's
Asian
straight up.
Some beautiful hot pot places in Mile End now because of Queen Mary and sort of the students there. Like,
yeah, lovely stuff. There's a hot pot place in this place as well.
Never tried hot pot before, but I want to go back and
just. It's like a buffet for soup. But like, what the buffet is what goes in the soup. Yeah. Sorry, not the soup. But you can it's like 10 different types of soup.
You don't drink the soup, right? You just cook.
Oh, I mean, sometimes you're cooking it in the soup. Sometimes you get a bowl of soup itself. Pretty good either way.
Nice.
So anyway, enough dilly-dallying. Are you back? You're back from the cinema. You've seen it, yeah? You're happy. You got it there. Okay, so now you've seen it, we don't have to worry about the spoilers. So I'm going to go from the beginning, and I want to say, first of all, that 28 Days Later is one of my favourite films of all time, literally in my top 3. I first saw it when I was maybe about 8 years old, way too young. And I remember being told it's an 18, it's a horror movie. So I was ready to be really terrified because that was the era where horror movies were really fucking gory and nasty. Especially the the mid to late 2000s. That's when it was all like Saw and Human Centipede and all Stool and all that kind of like really. No, I can't do gore at all. I really struggle with it. I thought I hated horror movies, but I just grew up in an era where all horror just meant repulsive gore. So I was expecting that kind of thing, and then I just found it super intriguing, you know, watching the film. So like, I'm a big fan of the franchise. Then I saw weeks later when I was a teenager, and I didn't like it because I was like, oh, it's all American now. But having rewatched it again, it is actually quite good. So anyway, let's run through the plot, right? 28 days later, some animal rights activists break into a lab to liberate some monkeys that are being experimented on. When they get there, the monkeys are going fucking nuts. And one of the scientists is like, you can't fucking do this. They're infected. They go, with what? With rage, right? And they do it anyway. And the monkeys get out and they bite the humans. And then the humans start going mental because rage is a virus that just turns you into a fucking mad cunt who just wants to eat other humans. And if you bite another human, or if you vomit blood, they vomit blood when you get infected. You vomit blood. If you vomit blood in your eyes or in your mouth or anything, you also get infected and become a mad cunt. So this virus is like going to just sweep the wave. Meanwhile, there's a bloke called Jim, and he's a bicycle courier played by, is it Cillian or Killian Murphy?
Cillian Murphy.
Killian Murphy. Okay, because I've never known how to pronounce it. Sorry to any Celtic listeners. I know it's Roisin though, so I get that point. So he's a bike courier. He gets hit in an accident and he ends up in hospital in a coma. And he wakes up 28 days later, and he's in.
Get it?
Get it? That's the title of the movie. And the ward is abandoned, and he walks out the ward, and the hospital is abandoned. He walks out to the street in central London, and it's all abandoned. There's no one there. It's just a wasteland, and the theme plays, and it's fucking sick, and it goes. It's fucking sick. Always love that. That's what captivates me. Shout out John Murphy, absolute G. And it turns out this fucking virus is fucked. He runs into a church because, like, where'd you go? It's going to a church. And he sees all these dead bodies, and he sees the priest. It turns out the priest is like a fucking mad cunt because he's infected. And he starts running at him. So he runs away. He runs out of the church, and the infected is chasing him, like, ah! And he's like, ah! And then a fucking Molotov cocktail just hits the infected. And it turns out there's two non-infected people, presumably. They lob Molotovs at him, they stop the infected, and eventually they like blow up a gas station, all blows up, and they explain to him, exposition time, there's been a virus, everyone's infected, and blah, 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 and they just have to drink like Coke cans, and they're scavenging. And they decide to go to his parents' house, and they go to his parents' house. His parents, they decide to commit suicide. He's really sad. They're like, to be honest, that's probably quite a good way to go. It was fucking carnage. And then at night they're sleeping there, and he lights a little candle to look at some pictures, and suddenly, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing, get down. And then it's too late, infected bursts through the window, and he's like, and he bites the guy, because it's a guy and woman who saved Jim, and he gets, so she has to just kill him. And Jim's like, oh, you have to kill him in like 30 seconds because they get infected, and I'll kill you as well if it happened to you. And then, so now it's just a woman and Jim, and I forget her name, and they travel through, and they see these flickering lights in a flat at the top. So they decide to go up. There's an infected chasing them, and they're like, ah! And they run up, and then they get let into the flat, and it's a dad and a little girl. And the dad then shows them there's a radio signal, and it's coming from this place, and they're saying they can save people, and we should go there. So they get in a black cab, and they get supplies, and they drive up, and they end up making it to the place. They get there, and it's deserted. There's no one there. And they're like, oh no, it's like nothing's happening. And the dad's like looking around. He's like looking around, but there's a crow, and the crow's up there, and it's got the hand of an infected person. It's chewing on it, and he looks up, and a drop of blood hits him in the eye, and it's infected blood, and he becomes infected. And the daughter's like, Dad, what's going on? And he's like, and then he gets shot, and he dies. And then these army men come out, and it turns out they were the army men with the radio signal, and they take him back to their compound. Like, they're saved, they've worked it all out. But then these guys, they're a bunch of army guys, they're kind of weird, and it turns out they're army nonces, and they basically want to rape the woman and the girl in order to repopulate Earth, whatever, but really just because they're a bunch of army nonces. And they one of them got infected, and they chained him up because they want to see how long it takes them to starve. But basically Jim obviously is like, what the fuck, you can't fucking do this. And one of the army guys like, you guys are fucking insane, you can't do this. So they take both of them out, And instead of deciding to shoot them, they just let them go. I think they run away, basically, and they escape over the fence. And don't worry, the fucking infected will get them, right? So then Jim, I think one of them dies, the bloke, the revolting army guy dies, but Jim, he sneaks back in and he goes full fucking psycho mode, and he lets the infected guy free, and he bursts in, he like strangles the army guys, and he rescues the two girls, but then he gets, I think, shot, and then he's in the car, and they drive away through these gates, and then it cuts to the next scene, and they're in this little cottage on the coast, and they're like sewing some shit. Turns out they're making a big help sign because an American jet flies over and it sees the help sign, and that's the end of the movie. They're saved. So that's 28 Days Later, one of my favourite films of all time. Then you got 28 Weeks Later. So 28 weeks later, it opens up and there's a bunch of people, they're all hiding out in this cottage. Then a boy comes and they're giving some food. And it turns out he led all the infected. Then all these infected come through, they're like, ah! And they burst through the doors like classic zombie shit, you know, they're bursting through the wood and stuff. And they get them and they start fucking up. And Robert Carlyle, he plays this like man with his wife there, he's like, he runs up and then basically the infected get into a room with like his wife, and he just kind of slams the door and just fucking legs it, and he ends up getting onto this boat and driving off and escaping, and everyone else sort of gets infected. He just assumes everyone's fucking had it, and then it fast forward and turns out the Isle of Dogs in London has been occupied by the Americans, who've declared it a clean zone, and they're trying to like let people go back to what they call District 1, which is a safe zone, no infected, no nothing. And there's these two kids who go in and they meet their dad. Turns out Robert Carlyle is like a kind of caretaker of this area, and the kids are away in Spain in a sort of refugee camp there. And so he shows them around. This is District 1. And there's this woman who's a doctor there. She's like studying stuff, make sure they're clean. And there's all these army guys, you know, with their snipers and machine guns and Americanness. And basically, the kids sneak out of the area and they go back to the house, right? And in the house, they find their mother is still alive, and they bring her back, and she gets checked out. And it turns out she got bitten, but she's like immune. She can carry the virus without it turning her into a mad cunt, right? So she's in quarantine, and then her husband, Robert Carlyle, sneaks in, kisses her, cunt, idiot, infected, goes fucking nuts. And this is 2007 era horror, because then he fucking brutally murders his wife. And that I struggled through that because I do not like gore. And then basically he gets infected, he escapes, and there's a big panic, and they say, right, code red, you got to shoot all the infected. They can't shoot just the infected. They're like, right, they just fucking shoot everyone. But then one of the snipers, he sees he's supposed to shoot this kid, so I can't fucking do that. And he goes rogue, and he finds the surviving people, and he says, I'm going to like try and help you guys get out of here. And they firebomb the whole area to try and kill everyone. But the survivors escape, and the infected escape, and they go to Regent's Park, where there's a fun fair, to wait for a helicopter guy to come and extract them. But there's a bunch of infected coming over, and the helicopter guy just flies in and just chops up all the zombies with the rotor blades. And then I think he's like, oh, I can't pick you up here, meet me at Wembley or something. And so they but now that they go into London, now there's like nerve gas going throughout, so they've got to escape this nerve gas. But then there's people with flamethrowers coming through. It's a bit Hunger Games. And the army guy saves him, gets out into the nerve gas to jump start this Volvo because it's not starting. And he gets done by the nerve gas and the flamethrowers, and they get away. They go into the underground, but they can't see. They've got to use a night vision rifle scope. So it's just the doctor woman and the two kids now. And while they're there, I think they're still infected down there. I think Robert Carlyle, the dad, is there as well. And he gets her and he kills her, right? And then he gets Andy, the little kid, and he bites him. But it turns out he's like his mum. He just carries the thing. And they walk out and they escape, and they make it to Wembley. And it's like, oh, yay, they made it, right? And one of the kids has got the blood with the immune to it. And then it cuts to the next scene, and you see infected have made it into Paris. And it turns out the virus has spread. So that's where we got up to before 28 years later. That's where it was for like 13, however many years. Did I miss anything important for those first two movies?
Nah, you're right.
Honestly, watched them both once.
I think I've
not seen the second
whole
one.
lot, right?
I do like the second one's like their attempt to be a bit more Hollywood about it, but I've never seen it.
I didn't like it at first, but then when I rewatched it, I thought this is actually good. It's not like Michael Bay. I kind of in my head canon I'd remembered it as like Michael Bay level, but it's really not. It is quite good, but it's not as good as the first one, and it's not as good as Years. And I will talk about that as well, because I feel like where the ending of Weeks sets you up for isn't really in the first movie. And when I saw Years, I didn't know that it was part of a planned trilogy. I just thought, I went into it just thinking, oh, this is the next installment. This will be a whole
Yeah,
thing.
and it's
I
not
thought
it's
it
not
was
that
so
Years
well
is the
done.
third in the trilogy of the previous two movies. It's that Years is the first part in a
Yeah,
new
yeah, it's the
trilogy.
beginning of a new trilogy.
First part of it's like a three-parter. Yeah.
And so, yeah, 28 years later opens with you're in the Highlands and there's a bunch of kids in the house watching Teletubbies. Then suddenly there's this siren, and the mother says to this little blonde kid, like, just don't go near it. And then infected bursts through, and it's like, ah! And they're all like, ah! And then all the kids are getting all bitten. It's like the younglings in fucking, what's it called? The Revenge of the Sith movie, the Star Wars one. They all get murked. But he escapes, he runs off. He runs into the chapel where he finds his dad, he's a priest. And they burst in. His dad's just like, this is the end times, yeah, Judgment Day, Judgment Day, Judgment Day, woo! And he gets all murked, but he's loving it. He's like, yeah, coming to the Lord. And he gives his son a cross, and his son just fucking legs it, right? He runs off, right? And then that's the last you see of him for now. And you go to this island, which is
Well, no, it's not that his
Did I miss
son
anything?
doesn't leg it. His son hides in the church. His dad accepts like the divine blessing of it, and then he leads the infected out. Which is kind of weird, because it implies that it implies that his dad thinks that his son is like not coming to heaven because he's not going to get infected. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to infect you, son. Actually, you're fucking condemned,
true.
mate. Take this cross. You're going to need it.
Yeah, fair enough. I kind of interpret it more as take this cross because it's like more of a token of your faith. It's like an entrance key. Like, hey, look, I've got the cross. You got to let me in, St. Peter, mate. Like, so yeah. Then we go to this island, and
Is it meant to be an island off the coast of Scotland?
no, it's off the
So
coast of
it's
England.
meant to be Lindisfarne. No, it is Lindisfarne. So Holy Island. It's one of the islands where there's like a big monastery. One of the first islands where like Christianity came to the UK. Raided by Vikings, very famously as well. Makes great mead.
What bugged me though is in my head it was off the west coast. I just assumed it was off the west coast, and when I looked up, it's actually on the east coast, which is fine. But it bugged me because I was like, oh, I thought it was there, but it was actually there. Not that it makes any
You're
difference.
thinking
to
it's St.
anything
Michael's
at
Mount.
all.
That's what you're thinking.
I've just got this kind of like, orientationism weird thing going on because it doesn't matter which way you turn the map up or what's in the middle. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, I thought it was here, but it was
Where is it,
actually
off the
there.
west coast?
It's off the east coast in the North Sea, but I thought it was off the west coast in the Irish Sea. Like, I just assumed. I didn't think it was that. I just assumed, like, in my imaginary head, that's where it
I
was.
thought it was in Irish Sea as well, to be honest.
Because you hear northern accents, I'm like, oh, it must not be in the Highlands. It must be here, but it was actually there. That's totally irrelevant, anyway. So
it really doesn't matter.
it tells you that it's 28 years later. It's 28 years since the rage virus happened. 28 years since the shit I started with earlier when I started telling the plot, right? So you've got this community. Everyone's got a bow and arrow. They're on an island. It's sort of like it says low resources. Keep your resource use low. Don't use too much water. And it's
The
just
UK has become a quarantine zone at this point.
Yeah, and it tells you that the UK is a quarantine zone. So following from the last one, they must have managed to contain the infection in Paris.
So the rest of like Europe isn't infected, right?
So yeah, they contained it in mainland Europe and maintained the UK as a quarantine zone, patrolled by multiple navies. Basically, nothing is allowed out. And yeah, you see this a lot, and there's this sort of tattered England flag, and it's not even a Union Jack; it's just an England flag. You see these kind of old symbols of like church and Britannia. There's like in the sort of town hall part, there's like a portrait of the Queen, who would have been, I assume, dead from the infection, but like I don't know. And yeah, like it's basically they're safe, but it's pretty shit. There's not a lot going on, and you were sort of introduced to the characters. You've got this dad, that shows that they have bacon, and he's like, "Oh, we've got bacon today," and that's like a big deal. And
the only reason they're safe is because they live on this little island.
On this little island, yeah.
Not on mainland UK.
Yeah.
Mainland UK is.
And they guard the island with like old school like bows and arrows, ballistas, watchtowers, drawbridge, medieval sort of shit. And yeah, so the dad, who's called Jamie, is cooking bacon for his son Spike, and then they realise that his mother's upstairs and she's not well, right? And he actually sneaks her some bacon, right? Which kind of becomes relevant later on. And yeah, so they're talking about, I'm trying to think what comes up. Is there anything that comes up? Yeah, they decide today it's Spike's turn to go onto the mainland, right? And what's interesting about this is, and the mother protests because she doesn't really know what day. You're not actually sure if she's protesting, because he says to her, "Remember, we've already talked about this," and watching it back, because I watched it again last night.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I forgot to mention that. No, I did. I realised watching it back, it's like, is he just gaslighting her though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They might have. She's completely delirious, so they might have already talked about it.
You know from the get-go, there's something wrong with her.
Well, it's the fact
memory.
that his son.
But then you start to see that like the dad is mistreating her. Like at first you're like, oh, there's like wrong with her, like she's sick, and then you see also that like the dad is sort of like abusing that in a way, taking advantage of her state.
That's what what I noticed watching the second time, because the other thing you notice is that the son sneaks bacon up to her, so he wasn't going to give her any bacon.
So he's like taking advantage of the fact that she doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, and it's possible she just forgot what was going on, or it's possible he's saying, look, we already talked about this, when they never actually talked about it. So he says that, oh, we're going to go to the mainland, and she's like, why isn't he going to school? We can't go to the mainland, it's too dangerous. He's 12 at this point. And most people don't go until they're 14, which you find out in a bit. I've jumped the gun a bit. And she's saying...
I didn't actually realise that. I didn't catch that one.
The old lady...
He's going younger than...
the old lady at the gate says that we usually don't let them go until they're 14. But the dad's like, oh, he's ready. So in the end, because she's delirious, even Spike says, oh, yeah, I'm going to school, because she's already kind of forgotten the conversation. And they go off, and so you understand they're going to the mainland. And I was assuming, they must be going to get resources, because you see they're low on resources on this island, so they must need to go there and risk themselves in order to gather like key resources.
I thought the same.
And they're walking along, but the more you go along, the more he's talking about how you're going to get your kill and how you're going to kill one of these infected. And this is where something extremely interesting, in my opinion, is the first thing you see, which is this massive expansion in lore. So in the first film, I've outlined the plot. You assume the people in the film assume the army men, they've captured an infected, and they're finding out how long does he take to starve to death, on the assumption that eventually they're just going to starve to death because they're just mad cunts, they can't operate, they're just going to keep eating whatever they can and then just starve, right? They can't reproduce or coexist or whatever, so it's just a matter of waiting for them to starve. And 28 weeks later is kind of a similar thing, the virus comes back because of, you see it come back, because of Robert Carlyle's character kisses his wife who's infected, but there's still this assumption that if we can kill the infected we see, eventually they'll die out and other areas they'll become clear again, as if it's like a sort of Chernobyl disaster. You just got to wait out for a bit and the radiation will die down. What you see here is these infected that are very different. You're used to seeing these mad cunts running around really fast, but what you see is these almost kind of inflated, like baby looking characters that crawl around slowly on the floor,
covered in like dirt.
They're covered in dirt and
they
sores.
Look like part of like the forest floor.
They look a lot. They look a bit like the people on Davy Jones' ship in the second Pirates of the Caribbean, where they're like part of the ship, part of the crew, and they got barnacles on themselves. And so this tells you something really interesting. You think at first these are the only infections you've seen in 28 years.
They're moving really slowly as well. They don't seem threats.
So you suddenly realise, okay, so the infected still exist. Yeah. They've evolved. There's this new type of infected, and they've figured out a way to continue surviving and presumably reproducing by just moving slowly and sucking worms from the ground. So this isn't a how are they still alive type situation. They've completely, they seem to be, as much as they're charged up and running around really fast, they seem to become extremely like plastic and like adaptable and evolve. Maybe the virus makes people evolve more rapidly, go through more mutation and change. So it's this kind of expansion of lore that not only the affected survive, but they've evolved. And you see kind of more of this. And basically, Spike is told, with your bow and arrow, shoot one of them, shoot one of those infected. And, you know, he sort of hovers for a bit. And you can see another one's creeping up behind them. And he shoots and he gets it in the neck and it squeals. And he goes, yeah, you got it, great shot. And then suddenly he's startled by the one behind and kills the other one. And then they're basically walking around more. And I think it's, they come into a house. Maybe it's later on they come into the house. They walk up to a field and they see the alpha. But I think they go into the...
They hide from the alpha in the house.
In the house. But no, because they go into the house before with the guy hanging upside down.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
they go into the house,
Yeah.
and this is an interesting point for me. He finds a frisbee. So the
Yeah,
Spike's
they
like,
go into the house to sort of look because he's like, oh, sometimes you find useful stuff
yeah.
in here.
So
Like,
Spike finds cutlery and goes, "Is this useful?" He goes, "No, we got loads of." Oh, but look at this, a frisbee. This is amazing. He goes, "What's?" "Oh, you know what a frisbee is? Frisbee's great."
yeah.
So he gets a frisbee, and then they see a guy hanging upside down who's been mutilated with the words Jimmy carved into him with a hood. Actually, it's
I
not a
forgot
hood.
he had Jimmy
It's
carved into him.
it's some of the exact white plastic bags with red smiley faces that I get from my local office. So I found it particularly haunting.
I love
In that type of carrier
watching
bag.
these movies as like a Brit, well, especially that
Yeah.
movie. It's like there's all these little details that you can
Mm.
like really relate to, like that. Like
Yeah,
he's
it's
talking
true.
about like a GP and stuff. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, it's
And-
funny.
Yeah, and so they see it, and he's like hanging there, and Spike, as a 12-year-old boy, goes, "I don't want to fucking see this." And his dad goes, "No, you have to see it. You have to stand there and look at it." And he basically asks Spike to execute this guy who seems to be infected. And at this point, he says he's got no mind. That means he's got no soul. And Spike is like shaking, trying to take this guy out. And as he gets infected, he starts thrashing about, breaks the rope that's hanging him, and as he hits the ground, then Spike shoots him through the head, and he dies. So then they continue their expedition, and they go to a field where they see an infected, and then they see this enormous infected person stood there with a massive 12-inch schlonger. And he say that's an alpha. You have to run. It takes more than 12 arrows to kill one of them, and it's like 12 feet tall. This thing. Oh, they see it. The reason they see it is because they see a deer and its guts are spilled out, and the dad's like, "Yeah, I like it. I like seeing the guts like that because he's a proper real man. He likes seeing the blood and guts." And they see the head and spine of the thing is like hanging off a tree, and they're like, how the fuck did that happen?" And that's when they see the alpha and realize that the alpha had basically ripped the head off the deer and stuck it on the tree. You see a kind of flashback to it. So the alpha sees them and like, "Fuck it, we got to leg it." So they run back to a house. The infected are chasing them. They hide in a house. They get up into the attic of the house, and they hide up there. And the infected leave, but the alpha is still
Also, they've run
basically...
out of arrows, so they can't.
Yeah, they
kill
run
the
out of
infected,
arrows.
That's why they're hiding.
So they're hiding, and the alpha's still standing out there in the field, and the other infected have gone. And then in the middle of the night, the attic of the house they're in starts collapsing. So they basically just have to leg it, and they leg it back, and it's not quite. They have to wait until low tide because it's a causeway
Yeah,
that's
there's a
only there for a few hours a day at different times, and then at high tide you can't get there.
to get back to their
So
island. The causeways can join to the island.
yeah. So it goes up to about, I think, knee height, the water. So they're like, "We've got to run." They notice behind them that there's the alphas chasing them. So they basically have to run. They try and fire a few arrows to slow them down, and then they get to the gate, and they alert the people who, in an awesome scene, fire a ballista at the guy and take him out, which was cool as fuck. The Age of Empires player in me was like, sick. And then you see them at this pub, and the dad Jamie is pissed, and he's regaling them. Everyone's cheering them because they're waiting for them to get back. Of the how Spike was so heroic and he killed them, and he basically embellishes the story to make it seem like Spike was this great hero. Spike looks visually uncomfortable because he's like, that didn't happen, as he's lying. And he tries to drink a bit of the beer, and it just makes him feel sick. Then he sees his dad basically philandering with another woman. And so he becomes disillusioned and goes back to where the family friend's looking after his mum, and chats to him a bit. And forgotten a really important detail, didn't I? When they're in the house, hiding from the alpha, Spike looks out the window. The dad looks out the window and says, "Look at that, that's a ship. That's probably French people. They're keeping us in quarantine." And Spike goes, "Look over there, what's that?"
Oh, the
Sees a
fire.
fire
Yeah.
in the distance. And Amy, the dad, says, "Don't know, we won't go there. It's probably some bullshit. I've never been there, don't want to."
Yeah.
And so later on, when he does go, leaves the bar and goes to speak to his family friend who's looking after the mother, he asks about it, and the guy says, "Oh, that's old Dr. Kelson. He was the GP in the Bay, and then he moved out there afterwards." And so Spike's like, "Wait, there's a doctor? I mean, my mum's sitting there's a fucking doctor." And he goes, "Yeah, there's a doctor." So the next day he confronts his dad about it, and his dad says, "We went and visited once, and we saw this guy, Dr. Kelson, with this huge field of corpses, and he turned around at us and he waved at us, and we were like, that guy's fucked up, never go there," basically. And then he confronts him about his infidelities, and his dad's like, "Oh, fuck off, whatever." So he decides he's going to take his mum to see the doctor So he creates a diversion by setting fire to a barn and then sneaking his mum out, basically. And this is where you see the tattered England flag burning. And this is when everyone saw in the cinema we were in, as soon as they saw the England flag burning, they were like,
Yeah.
all three people in the same screen.
Yeah.
And so they sneak off onto the mainland, and the mother's a bit like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm taking you to a doctor." And I'm trying to remember. So they're going along, and they have to sleep at night, and they sleep in a church. And while they're sleeping, the son is being attacked by one of the slow worm-sucking infected. Starts sucking the shoelace, thinking it's a worm, and he doesn't wake up. And suddenly, the mother, like a flash, just grabs like a blanket over its head and smashes its head against like the altar until it dies.
But there's something else as well, which is that
And she,
it's kind of subtle, but there's like a symbiotic relationship between the local wildlife and the infected, because the crows feast on the
Yeah.
carrion of what the infected don't leave behind. They just pick at like the infected leavings,
Yeah.
and so
Oh,
they will
yeah,
occasionally They will occasionally like start squawking. They will like signal to the infected or start squawking to attract infected
Yeah.
nearby where there's like living animals, including people.
Yeah, because when they were trying to run back across the causeway, when it was him and his dad, I think the crows started
Yeah.
coming after them.
Which
and
is
the alpha came
really
after
like,
those.
I mean, I don't think crows are infected with rage, because I mean, we know animals can be infected with the rage virus because the monkeys are in the first one, but
the
As you
monkeys
said-
are, but it's established that other animals aren't. I
As
think
you said, it's
in,
probably the symbiotic.
okay,
in
I
weeks-
think
in
that's
weeks
just
it's-
harsh on the crows. Then, to be honest, I don't think crows deserve that sort of bad rap.
because there's a crow in 28 Days Later that's chewing on the hand of an infected, and it drips into the dad's eye,
Yeah.
and that's how he gets
Played brilliantly
infected.
by Brendan Gleeson.
The crow's not infected
They're
though,
carriers.
and the wild horses aren't infected in the first one. They could have just evaded the infected, but
Yeah.
or they at least say, "Do you think they're infected?" They're like, "No, they don't look infected." And in weeks later, I think they explicitly say it doesn't transmit to other animals, apart from obviously primates. But yeah, I mean that's the benefit of having I watched Weeks and Years yesterday, so you know.
Ah, you got it all from. I was
And
wondering how
days-
how you were like recalling the plot of Weeks so like
Beat
well.
by
I was like, I
beat.
don't remember
So-
anything
so-
from that.
And I remember Days really well because I've seen it a bunch because it's one
Yeah,
of my
I
favorites.
thought of Weeks. I was like, how do you know? Like, oh my god, I don't remember anything from when we watched it. Like, I was really
So-
impressed.
so
You
no,
watched it
that's-
yesterday, it makes so much sense.
I actually didn't pick up on that though. Now you mention it, that
Yeah.
the infected do have a sort of symbiotic relationship with the wildlife around them. But yeah, another thing, and I think it's kind of one of the themes in this film is there's this criticism of. I mean, we can get to the analysis part later, but briefly, there's like kind of this. Obviously, this criticism of the kind of patriarchal, like militaristic. Oh, we'll be fine with our bows and arrows, and this. When they first go to the island, it turns out to essentially be a blooding ritual. They weren't going to get any key resources. They were just going to wantonly murder infected so that the son could be blooded and be a real man. And he has to look at the
Yeah.
extremely disturbing, gory torture situation that no one should really see because it makes him a man. And the only thing they bring back is a
that could have been
frisbee.
used to like get the resources or go to the doctor for the mom, and
Yeah,
instead it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
about
And then-
like turning his son into.
And you
a
see, you
man.
see it as a it just puts their lives in danger as a waste of time. But you see this kind of almost like this maternal protective energy that this mother, who's completely delirious and really unwell, instinctively manages to wake up and slam an infected's head against the wall to protect her son, and then doesn't
And-
even remember
Doesn't
doing
remember it
it.
the next day.
And there's another scene later on that I
It's really
think kind of
badass. Like, she has no
mirrors.
weapons or anything. She's
She gets a blanket, sticks it
bashing.
over his head, smash against
She
the
doesn't
wall.
need a bow and
Doesn't
arrow.
even
And one
remember
thing as
doing
well
it.
in the
No, but-
initial encounter with the sort of the bloated sort of worm-eating infected is that they kill two infected, a man and a woman, but they don't kill because of Spike, a little baby version of one of them.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
his dad was going to, and Spike was like, "Dad, no."
Yeah,
Is
and
that
he's
right?
like, okay,
And
we'll let
he's
it go.
like,
Like you've had your fill. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the mum saves him by killing the infected, and then so they continue on, and that's when they come to hell, right? You know, they come to the garage.
Yeah,
the
no, it's not a shell garage. It's so what it is. I can't remember what it's called, but it's an old chain of like. See how you have like Little Chef, like a really old like chain of like British cafes trying to ape like American ones, like American diners, kind of like wimpy as well. It's a chain. I
Yeah,
can't remember the name of it, which was only really big in the north, which was probably already derelict,
yeah.
but that was also like it was also like a fast food chain. And yeah, someone just basically left the gas on in this. And I mean, I don't want to take over the
Well,
exposition,
yeah,
but
apparently yeah, it's like accumulated benzene, I think they say it is. So they go in there, and I think the infected are
mm,
chasing them, and then this bloke who's there, you see actually earlier we forgot. There's a scene where you see a bunch of people speaking
yeah,
foreign
French,
with
Swedish,
guns
NATO
walking around.
soldiers.
Yeah, and they're naval. Yeah, apparently they're
Mm.
naval, and they're getting chased by the infected and running. And I think a couple of them get done by the Alpha and get their heads ripped off, but some
All
of
of
them
them get no, all
escape.
of
And
them
you
get
see that
only one of
earlier.
them
So that,
escape. So a lot of them get taken by common infected. Some of them get infected and then shot by their own,
yeah,
and then they all run into like a sewer, and then they realize the alpha is already there. So like, can we get their heads ripped off? One of them escapes, and that's Eric.
yeah. That's Eric. So he turns up at the place where the gas is and starts shooting it infected, and the bullets basically ignite the benzene gas. So the mum and Spike are on the ground. Isla, she's called, and Spike are on the ground, and the flames take care of the infected. And so that's how they meet. And coming back to something that I talked about earlier, they're talking to Eric, and he has his smartphone, which is saying, I can't get a signal, and it's running out of battery. And they're like, what's that? And it's like, well, soon it would just be a brick. And the one thing he chooses to do with the battery on his phone is to show Spike a picture of his ex.
Oh no, his fiance. She's not his
Yeah.
And I
ex.
can,
She's not his ex. It's his fiance.
he says fiance. Well, I guess
Yeah,
ex.
because he can't
Yeah, 'cause he's
leave. Like,
Stan.
if you get on to Britain, you are not allowed back.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's
So I
true.
guess he still loves her.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because it's like I can confirm from real life experience this is a thing that people do, and
Yeah,
I
I guess
genuinely.
it's a bit different though, because it's like that's somebody he still loves, and it's not
Yeah,
like,
yeah, true.
this is my ex-wife that I'm bitter about.
Yeah. And then because she's like obviously had some work done in the picture.
Rest of the world is like in
Spike-
2025 now, whereas like Britain is still. Like,
Rest
way
of us in
behind.
2025. They're somewhere between like 1582 and like 2002.
Yeah.
And he just says, "What's wrong with her face?" He's like, "What do you mean?" Oh, there's someone on the island like that. Did she have a shellfish allergy? And I just kind of
The
burst.
naiveness.
I just burst out laughing at that. I just found it really funny. And he's like, "No, she's gorgeous. What the hell's wrong with you?" And then his phone runs out of battery, and that's that. So, and he's like, "What's wrong with her? Can you get her to shut up?" To the mum, who's like completely delirious. And so he explains she's not well, and then so Eric has to now carry her, and they're going to find this doctor. So they are walking along trying to find the place, and they come across what looks to me like a normal train in 2025.
It's an old school train. Again, it's part of this northern nostalgia thing. It's an old school train which was discontinued, but is very much part of the like northern East Coast main line.
But like the trains of today, it was not moving. And it's this is abandoned trains that are covered in moss and everything. And they kind of have a look at it, they walk into it, and this is where Isla finds an infected woman, but she's very heavily pregnant.
Because the kids didn't go onto the train. It was Isla that heard the woman screaming, so she sort of went onto the train. And then the other two, they don't want to get on the train.
Yeah, they
They're sort of
didn't
following,
want-
like, where is she going? Is she okay? And she's just sort of gone onto the train on her own.
Yeah.
Because she was following this woman's screams, who's obviously an infected.
And you saw her earlier, actually. You see this pregnant infected woman in a river earlier on. She's part of the kind of Alpha's harem. And she is not going full mad cunt. She's just screaming and standing there with, big pregnant belly. And Isla takes both of her hands and she basically begins to, give birth, and Isla takes the baby.
Yeah, Isla
And
basically helps her give birth.
Yeah, helps her give birth. And the baby just looks normal.
Even though this is an infected that could kill her.
Yeah.
And it's like...
and-
I guess it's kind of like ambiguous. It's like, is she doing that because she's confused?
It's like a
or is she-
maternal solidarity.
Well,
It's a maternal instinct. Like, it's
Yeah.
like obviously, if she didn't have the confusion she was struggling with, she probably would have stayed away because it's an infected. But like, she was actually safe anyway, because whilst this infected was giving birth, it was, as you say, it's sort of like this maternal connection where like she would normally be killing her, but instead like she's giving birth and she's helping her give birth.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing. It's like the contrast between the kind of brutish patriarchal, let's shoot everything with an arrow, to
And then the
this
women are like
instinctual,
working together.
matriarchal, You've got the mother taking out that infected that was actually threatening her son instinctively, and now you've
Yeah.
got the power of this maternal energy can actually overcome the rage infection, such that she can give birth and almost be like an uninfected person.
Yeah.
And the baby comes out and appears to not be infected. Then Eric comes in. And he's like, "Oh, the fuck! It's a baby's infected. Like, you can't shoot it." And then the mother starts, having given birth, starts going mad cunt again, and he shoots her. And they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He tries to shoot the baby, and they're like, "You can't fucking shoot the baby." And then
baby's
the alpha
clearly
puts
infected.
his hand through and rips his fucking head off with his spine included. And so they fucking leg it, and they run away from the alpha, and they're running away from him through this field. And then suddenly he gets hit by a dart, and he just goes Sparko, and he's out, and he's just like this. What emerges is this bloke wearing like a wife beater, a bald bloke played by Ralph Fiennes. So I initially thought, is that Ben English? Because I get him confused. Ralph Fiennes, and he's all red for some reason. He's all orange.
Can I just say, like, the whole time in the movie, I was like, the Doctor is just giving major Archie vibes. I'm like, if this is probably what Archie would be doing, just out somewhere on his own, like he's figured it all out. Like he's figured out the paint to protect himself. He's figured out how to sort of sedate the alpha. He's like building shit like in the woods. And
He
like,
figured out how to beat the alpha. He's on a Sigma male
crazy.
grind.
I was like, this guy's giving such Archie energy.
Agreed.
So Ben English is he turns out he's covered in iodine because it stops the virus. It's a prophylactic. And it turns out that the reason he was gathering all of those corpses is because he was building a kind of, I think there's something similar in Phnom Penh in Cambodia, a sort of monument made of bones, like a giant mausoleum, where he makes these enormous mountains of skulls and pillars of bones as a kind of monument to the lives and deaths of both the infected and non-infected alike.
And there's just sort of this thing where it's like, oh, you can't tell the difference. All the skulls look the same.
Yeah. And they have the skull of Eric, and so he takes the skull of Eric and he puts it in this furnace thingy, and then once it's finished kind of smoking, he puts it in water and then peels all the kind of burnt flesh left on it and takes the clean skull and he gives it to Spike and he says, put this somewhere here. And he talks about memento mori, remember death, remember you're going to die. And it turns out the dart that he gave the alpha was a mixture of morphine and xylazine that sparks them out. And they left quickly before it comes to, basically. And yeah, he then diagnoses the mother with essentially terminal metastasized brain cancer. So that's why she's got tumors in her brain. And basically he says, she's going to die. And basically she subtly agrees to be euthanized. So he euthanizes her and does the same process with the skull and gives it to Spike and says, put this in the best place you can find. So he climbs right to the top and puts his mother's skull at the top. He then takes the baby and he, in a sort of shopping basket, and he goes back to the island, but he just drops the baby off and leaves a note saying that he is not coming back yet. He's gonna, he'll basically come back when he's goddamn good and ready to come back. He's gonna stay on the mainland and kind of, find himself, figure himself out. And you see him, he's staying, he's kind of hunting, fishing, whatever. And then some infected come and he kills one with a bow and arrow. And a guy sees him do it and says, and it's basically this blonde guy, and it's Jimmy. It's Jimmy, the Scottish bloke from the beginning. He's wearing a tracksuit. He's got the cross, but he's got it inverted, and he's got like long blonde hair. And all these
just saw him and we were like, oh, tracksuit and inverted cross.
We thought, oh,
this guy's
pub
goth as hell.
He was pub goth as hell. I'm not gonna lie. He was basically made a gang of pub goths, and he has a whole gang with him, and they've all got the same blonde hair, and they all go, psycho mode and kill all the infected in sort of glamorous ways. And he's like, yeah, you can hang out with us for a bit, Spike. And that's the end of the film. That's it. That's 28 years later, and apparently the next installment of this new trilogy is coming in January 2026. Anyway, Adam, what were your thoughts coming hot off the back of it? And I am going to be listening, but I'm also going for a wee.
I kind of thought of this movie as kind of like Danny Boyle's apology for the 2012 Olympics, which is because he directed the opening event of the 2012 Olympics, and it was seen by some people as this great celebration of how great Britain is, which he means how great England is. Even as a Scottish director, it's very much England-centric. And what I quite like is just how, like, I mean, obviously, not to rip off Mark Kermode, but it's pretty post-Brexit. It's not only is England and Britain isolated from the rest of the world, but the people who live on the island live on a part of England attached from the rest of Britain, which is what what a lot of Brexit is in a way, sort of making England isolated from even newer parts of it. And the people on the island live in like a proper right-wing British fantasy where you got your pints, you got your queen, you got your make do and mend. You're living like you're in fucking World War II. You can kill what you want.
I know. I was saying there's these undertones of sort of like toxic
Oh yeah,
masculinity of like taking his son onto the island instead of gathering resources to sort of just like break him in. And then there's also like the symbolism of, like, as Archie was saying, like the burning flag, like the tattered England flag. And it's not even like a UK flag, it's just an England flag.
And
like,
and as they go across the causeway for the first time, what is playing? Someone is reading out a poem called Boots by Rudyard Kipling. Now, Rudyard Kipling, see, you might know it, most people know him from the Jungle Book, but he is like the more or less the official poet of the British Empire. He is the poet who, like, if you want to understand the British imperial mindset, that is Rudyard Kipling. And so it is just so
100%.
much this make do and mend nostalgia. You get to, they're on Holy Island, have this island community. They're singing, why they're singing fucking Delilah. I was like, it's a folk song.
Delilah in the pub, like it's a folk song. I love that. Yeah,
it is like pure. Like, it's basically like, if you've seen The Wicker Man, it's like the island for The Wicker Man. If that was what the remnants of England was, and I mean, there's so much to it, especially.
Well, except in The Wicker Man, they have their own kind of esoteric thing, whereas this is just like, what if we had to make a culture out of like just the random bits of stuff we can remember from British history? So you see like remnants of like imperial, like Rule Britannia kind of stuff. Like I said, there's a portrait of the Queen there, and there's all they clearly romanticize, like, bow and arrow, Agincourt, Robin Hood kind of. They all train in bows. Another thing, can I point this out that I noticed that I was trying to kind of get my head around? You know how they wear masks of the infected on the island? They wear these creepy masks, and they seem to wear them like as a ceremony. It's not sure if it's like a ceremonial thing. One of the characters is like a sort of older guy, like a sort of middle-aged guy riding a bike with his bow and arrow, and he has one of these, and he's kind of like smiling. He's like, is it ceremonial? Does it denote rank? Is it a way of like saying, fuck you, in fact, I'm going to mock you by wearing your faces? I was wondering what that exactly was supposed to mean within the film, but I found it interesting and quite like
I think it's meant to be sort of like the narrative on the island. I mean, the island is sort of built out of narrative. I'm sure people, my flatmates, PhD thesis said, but it is built off of narrative to the extent that they have like a banner that says, "We can't go on, but we must." This idea of like, we are English, we stand alone, we have the resources. I mean, they don't even care about getting cutlery. They don't care about getting metal for stuff. They think they can handle it all themselves. And if you leave, you're not guaranteed an entry back. And it is very much, they are kind of chauvinist to the rest of the country. They think they are better than everyone else, and they are very isolationist. But
and he says we don't go into the villages. We don't go in there.
So I think the purpose of taking people onto the mainland is mostly just to get them used to killing. Because if they've got fucking bacon, that means they've got pigs. They've got a farmland. They have this kind of World War II make do and mend attitude, which a lot of people want to go back to. Like, if you ask most people born in the 50s, they'll say they fought in World War II.
I talk a lot about Dig for Victory, but I'm allowed one.
Yeah.
And obviously there's the whole thing where there's a doctor, and they know there's a doctor, and like they refuse to go to the doctor because they're like, oh, he's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's quite...
Yeah, and I think, I think also like Jamie just treats his wife as a lost cause. And I think because of his view towards the infected, he doesn't really, because they're not, they are still humans. They're just humans that are infected. He kind of views her in a similar way. Oh, she's just not really human anymore. It's like very dehumanizing to her.
It's like, is this because he's obviously cheating on her? And it's like, is this because he's cheating on her, or he's almost like waiting to...
I think he's cheating on her because he doesn't...
Or is he cheating on her? Yeah, as you said,
he doesn't see her as human. He doesn't think she has a soul because she has no mind. And as he's...
And that's misogynistic. Like that's misogyny. Like it's like he's seeing her as lesser, and like, as you said, like not like an equal human.
And it's part of their ideology, if people are infected with anything, then they're not than they're to be viewed with. They're not
And there's
human.
definitely meant to be a parallel between him and the main alpha, because
Yeah.
because there's an argument that okay, when Spike and Isla leave the island, is that there's an interpretation that maybe Jamie the dad is under like armed guards. So maybe think maybe they were behind. He was also part of the scheme, to set fire to the supply shed so they can get out. But unlike unlike Jamie, who does not go after Spike, his wife and child, the alpha goes after his wife and child. At least he tries to
Yeah.
find his kid. And the alpha is in many ways, also
Yeah.
including sort of scraggly, sort of long brown hair. He is a better dad to his kids than Jamie is to Spike. It is many because I
Yeah.
mean, so Boyle and Alex Garland, who wrote it, said that this is the first one is about family, and the infected are a better family unit. I mean, probably bigger than a family unit because the alpha is an alpha of more than just his immediate family. But what I
Yeah.
found really interesting on top of that is just how Kelson is like quite universal. It's like yeah, we're all basically the same because I mean, it's
Yeah.
a common theme in the movies, and that humans can also be full of rage. It's just that these people are in a different circumstance
Yeah.
if you're infected, and there's kind of quite yeah,
And another.
well,
Sorry.
there's quite something quite universalistic
I was
about
going
it.
to say just. I was building on something you were saying. I just kind of thought was that you mentioned earlier that the kind of worm sucking infected and the infected in general have this kind of relationship with their
Mm,
environment where they actually seem to be thriving together. You see these big
mm,
flocks of deer running along. Meanwhile, it twigged something. I remembered it as a contrast. When they first set foot on the mainland, they're walking through all these felled trees, this kind of like
mm,
decimated landscape. And Jamie's sort of proudly saying, "You'll be working here one day," and that's like the area that the humans have touched, which is all just like desolate and chopped down. Meanwhile, the infected actually seem to have not only a better relationship with each other, but a better relationship with the world
mm.
around them.
Yeah, like Adam mentioned, the sort of symbiotic
Yeah.
relationship they have with nature as well.
Yeah, as
It,
opposed to all the felled trees and
it's also just a very
destruction.
psychedelic movie,
Yeah.
like when you see because there's no like constant light pollution. Yeah, as they're running back to the island through the causeway, you see the aurora borealis. Yes, at this time of day, at this time of
Yeah,
year, at
I
this
love
part of the country, localized entirely
that.
within Holy Island.
Localized
Yeah,
Italian.
and as Isla's getting euthanized, and there's obviously a strong hint of the assisted dying bill, although not in the same social context. He's not being pressured to do it. It is actually more of a free choice. Spike is also like so he doesn't stop them. He is also being like drugged, like being stated, and he can see like the burning fire, and it becomes very psychedelic. But in a way, it is also about sort of an evil of this kind of isolation. And I mean, it's probably important to mention as well that Jimmy is Sir Jimmy, and his cross is inverted. And but they're all the people he's with, his crew, his gang, which have strung people up. They use graffiti, like they do Bible verses about the Lord coming back, but they replaced like Jesus with Jimmy. And well, folks, Jimmy is based on like a Power Ranger slash Teletubbies version of Jimmy Savile, because this happens in a world in which
Yeah,
Operation Yewtree didn't happen. So Savile just dies of the virus or
yeah,
something, and he's just a very slightly creepy but nonetheless national treasure, quote unquote. And it's quite interesting 'cause it
mm.
basically portrays Jimmy Savile as like the Antichrist, which in many ways is
Yeah.
true.
I didn't pick up. I somehow didn't pick up on the Jimmy Savile connection. I think because
Mm.
I was just so overwhelmed, like, oh wow, they've got pub goths in this movie. They've got everything. And it was only when I sort of saw it mentioned that I was like, oh yeah, fuck
Yeah,
Jimmy Savile.
because
No,
yeah,
okay,
because
it
you have to
feels so
imagine
good.
this ending is
And
so
after I
fucking
can call
insane
him.
because it. So we have a beautiful scene of talking about Memento Mori, and then a new version, which is not like a theological thing. It's more or less an invention of the movie, which is Memento Amoris, like remember you must die, remember you must love, and it's really beautiful. And then it ends with
Yeah.
Jimmy Savile, Power Rangers, Ninjas.
Yeah, so the Clockwork Orange Jimmy Savile Power Rangers
Yeah, it's giving
And
me
the
combo.
Clockwork
infected, when
Orange
they're
vibes.
being attacked by the Jimmy Savile ninjas, even the infected seem like they start freaking out because they're like, "Oh shit, these guys are like more angry and having more fun at this than we are."
Yeah,
The
yeah,
infected just want to eat and like reproduce. The Jimmy Savile guys, they
yeah,
wanna they wanna make love to the violence.
yeah. No, true, and I thought it was really good, and I'm really looking forward to the next two installments.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I hope they do it justice. It sets it up nicely. I feel like yeah, it's interesting. It's a really interesting film to talk about as well. Obviously, these parallels, like you said, I like this that it's like Danny Boyle's apology for the 2012 opening ceremony, and like I said to you before, I think that this film, because like I mentioned before, 28 weeks later ends with now the virus has spread to Paris, and there's potentially some sort of cure because there's a child that survived. There's a carrier, and exactly none of that turns up in this movie at all. And it leads me to believe that this movie is not really it's a sequel to 28 Weeks Later and Days Later, but it's a spiritual successor to Children of Men, I think, because it's very, very similar. They're both kind of movies about the sort of decline of Britain. We're really on a theme of this after doing Shifty last time. It kind of goes together. Like the ending of Shifty, of like the liberal elites be like, "I've got nothing left," and just doing a bunch of weird shit with the Millennium Dome. Then a few years later, Children of Men comes out, and it's about, if you haven't seen, okay, spoilers on Children of Men. Fast forward to like a few minutes forward. It's a movie where, well, literally the beginning of the movie, they tell you what it's about. It's a movie where basically the last woman has ever given birth and everyone's infertile now. And like it opens with like a 27-year-old who's like a massive celebrity because this is the youngest guy in the world getting assassinated. And it's a movie where like Britain's still, literally they say Britain soldiers on, and it's just this kind of fascist hellscape where everything's kind of broken down. And it's kind of like what Britain's probably going to look like in like 10 years. Like it's more of a future documentary than a fictional film. Just replace infertility with like climate crisis, and you pretty much bang on. And yeah, I felt like this is very much a spiritual successor because it shows this whole idea of Britain in decline, people clinging on to these national ideas, but everything's just like really shit.
So I interviewed for a film on Sunday in which I was asked to comment on Children of Men, and I just sort of said amongst the like footage of the student protests, and I said that the Children of Men was great, but they missed one thing, is that in terms of like the abolition of youth and the abolition of any future other than we've already got right now, Children of Men was kind of inaccurate because actually a lot of British people would enjoy this. And that's what they enjoy on the island.
Yeah.
There is no future. There's barely any
Yeah.
youth. It's just your youth is prepared to be. Your youth is basically abolished because you're already a soldier, and that we get to stay in
You
the
can just
same
live
fucking
as
world. Well, the Queen lives forever because you haven't
See.
seen her die. Forever.
Yeah, yeah. We can just live a patchwork of fantasies of shit that we remember. Like, remember Agincourt? We stuck it to the French,
Yeah.
And it's
Remember the
seems like
Empire?
they have no aspiration to connect with anyone else. Like they know there's like villages on the mainland. They have no aspiration to potentially connect with them and see if they can build a better
Yep,
society,
they're fine.
or even like visit the doctor and access better healthcare. They have like no.
And like simultaneously,
Yeah, they want us to stay.
they
on the
have to
island
stay on the
shit.
island because they're safe. That keeps us safe, and we're lucky to have it. But also, let's just pop to the mainland to randomly put ourselves in immense danger just to kill a few cunts. Like, it doesn't really hold together. But another interesting way I think of looking at this movie, which Adam and I have talked about a little bit, is through the lens of zombie ideology. Which, if you're not familiar, is this idea that in popular culture, what zombies are is a representation of the ruling class's fear of the masses, or generally people's fear of the basically masses of bodies, i.e. like protest or whatever. So I think it's interesting when you look at this film and you think, well, what are the if zombies represent like a fear of the rising masses, and this, it kind of represents, like, you can think of it in a class analysis of the kind of I'm all right Jack middle class who still are going to vote Tory and try and kind of circle the wagons, and their life's just going to get shitter and shitter and shitter, but they're not going to join the rabble. And I thought it was interesting, when you look at the new taxonomy of infected. I'm interested to see if in the next film there'll be new types of infected that we'll see, new kind of evolutions, because I think it's a really interesting idea that they haven't starved to death. They can reproduce. Not only that, the rage virus makes them evolve really quickly into different forms. And it's interesting because Eric says, like, oh, the alphas, I'm a Viking. I've got Viking blood, so I'd probably be an alpha if I got infected. because it's not clear why some people become alphas when they're infected. So that's an interesting thing to explore. But it's interesting to look at this as like you've got these alphas who can command all of these waves of infected. They seem to be able to survive in their little communities. It almost kind of like represents this fear of like insurgent communities of people.
I mean, so part of it, I think, is also because I think Boyle and Garland more has acknowledged this is that 28 years later, 28 days later, set the standard for fast zombies. It was a huge cultural moment,
Yeah.
and one of the biggest things it influenced actually was a comic series called Crossed. Now, Crossed is a comic series in which there's a virus which is allowed to run rampant by Gordon Brown of all people. He's really blamed for this in the comics. What this virus does is it causes you to become a psychotic, sexual, violent murderer. But instead of having red eyes, what it does is it causes a St. George's cross to appear across your face. It's not subtle. It's a really good comic, but it's not subtle. And that was one of the biggest. And I think that eventually fed into 28 years later because in that comic, people who were already like serial killers and like psychopaths before the virus become smarter because of it. And there's so much culture around fast zombies that they said like we're acknowledging how much we influence. We're letting it feed back into ourselves. And I think that's why it's so psychedelic and so reflective as well.
Yeah, definitely, and I think because also it's been a long time as well. Like we said, it's been since 2007. It's been
Yes.
It's some years, and it's been like 32 years since 2007. I'm fucking
18 years.
I fucking forgot what I was going to say.
So embarrassing.
People born during 28 days later can now drink.
I just wanted to make a point that to our I don't know if people who aren't from the UK who might be listening to this don't realise, like, in the UK, right, or in England, right, if you see a Union Jacks around, you think must be like VE Day or like a royal wedding or like this place is a little bit Brexity. If you go somewhere and there's a whole bunch of St. George's crosses, the England flag with just the thing, you check your phone to see if the World Cup or the Euros is on. If it's not on, you fucking run, right? Because the next thing you're probably going to see is gollywogs or some shit. Like, it is generally, unless the footy's on, St. George's flags are the exclusive reserve of mouth-frothing racists,
St.
basically.
George's flag is a red flag.
It's red and white, but it's mostly just a red flag. So yeah, that's kind of I just wanted to clear that up for any I don't know if they realise that St. George's flag means like.
And as you were saying in the movie, it's not a Union Jack on that island; it's a St. George.
It's a St. George's flag, and yeah, St. George's flag is only 3 steps away from like a swastika, unless the footy's on. Unless the footy's on. The footy's on.
I mean, look, if I want a demo, like people like fascists who will come on to counter demo, they will always shout. They would always chant like England, and I'm like, that's not a very good counter chant. What? We know we're in England.
Yeah.
They always go England. I mean, I was at a demo recently and someone chanted "Gays for Palestine," and I'm like, yes. But they meant it ironically, so obviously,
Oh, it's funny because they're like, oh no, yeah, they're in Gaza, they'll throw you off a rooftop for being gay. And it's like, no, that's ISIS. And actually, ISIS are working with the Israelis in Gaza right now against Hamas. So, well, not ISIS specifically, but ISIS-linked militias. But anyway, back onto the film. Let's not go on a long detour. Fuck Abu Shabab. Yeah, so what else is there to say about 28 years later? And what, like, I'm trying to think, like, one thing I enjoyed about it was it shows a lot of the beauty of England because it is a beautiful country.
Yeah, I was like the scenery is so like it's a really pretty film to look at.
Yeah, really nicely shot. Apparently, it was shot on iPhones.
Yes, yeah.
What?
You can see, for example, that when they're running from the infected in a column, almost in a row down through the forest, as they're like taking turns picking them off of arrows as they're running out of arrows. And there's a picture you can see of a rig of about 12 iPhones all in a circle. Like, so the cinematography for this was genuinely fantastic and genuinely quite innovative as well. So I think it's probably the most psychedelic 28 Days movie. Partly because the second movie was an attempt to go Hollywood. I don't think Danny Boyle was actually involved. And the first one a bit more indie.
He wasn't direct.
I think 28 Years. I think generally because shock factor of zombies has worn off, it can now be quite psychedelic and tackle some more, let's say, philosophical themes of death. I mean, in terms of this first one being about family, I think it takes quite a matriarchal side, as well as delving into a lot of English nostalgia. Apart from that, Isla, when she's sort of hallucinating, is remembering her dad as like the only sort of positive male figure in this movie. I mean, you have Sam, like the old kid on the island who teaches people.
Like, her son is looking after
Well,
her.
Dr.
Like,
Kelsey.
instant
Yeah.
confusion. She like thinking it's her dad because he's having to take on. I mean, it's almost like it almost shows how the son is very like parentified.
yes.
Like he's having to take on, like this literally parentified role, and
Yeah.
make it very literal by the mum like getting confused and thinking that he's her dad because he's a very parentified child, because his dad isn't being the dad that the family needs. You know, he's not being the parent
He's
that the
not
family
caring. He's
No.
violent, and
he's just like obviously is not caring for the mum at all. Almost like this, as the son points out, like it seems like he's almost waiting for her to die. Like he's not taking care of her, not taking her to the doctor. She's got this sickness. He's not pulling his weight at all. He's just completely selfish. All he cares about is sort of like this thing where he's like trying to get his son to be just like him, and he's very like self-absorbed. And as soon as like his mom like isn't able to be this sort of like live up to his expectations of what a woman should be, which is obviously quite a misogynistic expectation, he's cheating on her. And I think that's a very like,
and when you see Dr.
symbolic.
Kelson, he's very, very gentle. He's one of the
Yeah.
other the positive male
he's
figures.
very Archie vibes, the Dr.
Well, Kelson is sold as like a psycho, and so actually he's the only person who's psychologically sort of sound.
The only
And I think you're completely
Yeah,
right,
like,
Scott, to say that he's parentified.
Yeah. Corpses.
No.
Spike
Yeah,
is
and
definitely
also no, like, he's also
by-
parentified because the child, the baby.
ability that his dad
Mm.
should be doing that. His dad should be the one taking care of his
Yeah.
partner and taking her to the doctor, but he's failed to do that. So his son has had to sort of take on this parentified role,
Yeah, and
which happens a lot.
And
in
what does he
real
name the
life.
baby? He names her Isla, after his mum.
he's a mother,
And
yeah.
that's the point when Jamie, his dad, gets the letter that her name is Isla. That's when he runs out and finally goes to the causeway. So he could have done that the entire fucking time, but he only tries. Tries to find his son in a way, and the tide is too high, so he can't actually do it properly when he is full of rage.
But also, it kind of shows you that what it's kind of saying is, you see, it's basically saying a real man is actually cares for people, not someone who's just extremely violent. Like the dad thinks the important thing is you have to be violent, and you have to be able to kill all these things and be able to step on this, and actually what's needed from a man is to care and be, and that's what Spike ends up doing.
And he's not
That's
taking
what
care of
Dr.
his
Kelson
family
does.
at all. He's just thinking about like his own.
Yeah, for Jamie, the
sort of
familial relationship. Oh,
patriarchal
sorry.
idea.
No. For Jamie, the relationship is like a status, like an office, like something you fulfill through like trophies in a way. And Isa is kind of in a way a trophy because she's like isolated up top. She doesn't have any agency until Spike gets her out. And whereas Spike becomes this kind of parental figure, he becomes parentified because the family isn't just a status; it's a relation. So it's not just something, it's not like a box you get placed in. It's something you have to actually actively do, which is something that the alpha does, which Jamie doesn't do.
It's true.
His dad is completely failing both his wife and his son because he's just thinking about his own interests, his own superficial interests of his sort of like this toxic masculine image he has of himself. He's trying to instill into his son. He's projecting that onto his son, and his son is almost like being objectified in a way because he's like wanting his son to be an extension of him. Have that sort of just have that sort of like toxic masculinity like he does. But his son is actually, despite all of that, a good person who loves his mum and wants to care for his mum and care for his family. So he becomes parentified because he's having to step into that role of taking care of the family because the mum's not well enough to take care of the family, and the dad is just doing nothing. And you see that he's like cheating on the wife as well, because I guess it's like he's just sort of I don't know how to word it, like
a dick.
Dick.
And that's a part that Eric is also a dick.
Sorry, I got totally
Another thing as well is that
but
he's superficial. He's superficial. He doesn't actually love his wife. He's just
And he's a
yeah.
product of the island because, like, the island lives off these kind of patchwork of myths that they tell themselves, and they're isolationist. They have no interest in the mainland. They don't want to. They don't want even want to know the truth about what's going on. So what do they do when they come back and they're in the pub? The dad is telling the story, and he's making these myths about what they went through and about how it was, because that's what's important. He's not just this sort of patriarch who doesn't care for his family and doesn't see the importance of that as part of his relationship. He sees his family, like I said, as a status, just as another part of this, like, myth making, this isolationism. Yeah, my amazing son, and we
It's
did
all
all this
very
stuff.
superficial,
But
and like he's obsessed
yeah,
with like this image
so
and like these like fantasies and like images of himself and images of his
yeah.
son, and it's all like
Whereas
he's not grounded in real life at all.
yeah, whereas Spike, because he becomes parentified, but on top of that, he has to actually he wants to care for his mother.
Yeah.
He wants to care for the baby because he's a real man, right?
Yeah.
And he also wants to deal with reality. Not that, oh, I'm this amazing warrior who goes on an incredible ritual and kills infected and returns to the safety of my amazing island. But actually, like, no, I have to deal with reality that there's a doctor out here and there's shit out here in the mainland, and that's a big way. So it's kind of like this thing between both having to have that relationship of care and a family ties into also not being in this isolationist brain rot and living with reality, not making up all these myths about what goes on the mainland. They're all kind of connected
Another important
together.
thing as well about sort of the dynamic between the island and the mainland is that since some people came back infected and there was like a line of crosses by the front gate, since that event,
Yeah.
the entire island community has externalized death. Because you don't, apart
Yeah.
since then, you don't die on the island. You die out there. You go out there
Yeah.
and you don't come back. And so if you die, someone who
Yeah.
dies doesn't even die. Someone who dies out there is just someone who doesn't come back. So death is external. Whereas when we
Yeah.
meet Kelson is like, no, the only thing, this is universal. We all will die, and that's why we have to all love, even if it's fucking dangerous. Which is why, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting point. They live on an island where they put death over there
Mm.
and escape from it.
Yeah.
He lives on a pile of bones.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is
Right, in reality, not in the myth isolationist world where none of that
They live on
happens.
Holy Island.
Yeah.
You don't see them use the castle on Holy Island once. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
So on the island, it's just a very weak very weak mindset to sort of be fearful and separate themselves
Yeah,
from the
for
dead
them, like
that.
it's almost like it's almost like dying is kind of a mistake or an achievement for them. It's like, oh damn, if someone dies, oh that's weird. Like whereas Kelson is just fully, well, I'm a doctor, I understand sort of life and death, and he wants to kind of celebrate that because that's the only thing we have left, and it's kind of that sort of horrible thing. It's the only thing we have left is the relation of death and the family, which the people on the island have completely fucking abandoned. It's kind of conservative. If you, I mean, I don't think in the apocalypse scenario we'd only have death and family because it's still like a very like. I mean, even then, the family it doesn't really hold up in that circumstance. It doesn't, which is so why I'm
Yeah.
sort of curious as to what's going to happen in the next one because the only relations you have left are Kelson, which is like this sort of abstract, universal, almost quite Catholic thing of Memento Mori, and then Jimmy, which is
Yeah.
I am the Antichrist, all follow me, you'll carry my mark, which is the blonde hair, the Jimmy Savile look.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think that's something that I saw Alex Garland saying, that it's about family, and there's you see two very different types of family in it. One is Clockwork Orange-esque, Jimmy Savile Power Ranger, hyper killers, and one being, family
I
of
was
Spike
surprised that
and
Alex Garland
Island.
wrote this, to be honest, because previously he's written, Warfare, which is fucking propaganda, and Civil War, which is God knows what. I mean, it's a rare win from Alex Garland, and indeed from like Danny Boyle, who is like in many ways an establishment guy. It's like surprisingly
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly, it's surprisingly. I guess maybe it's because they're like elder, they can get away with it now.
So they get, yeah, I mean, there's even joking with an interview with the actors for the main family for Jamie. So Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and who plays Spike? Alfie Williams, sorry. And they were joking about whether or not they get funding for the rest of the trilogy. So who knows? They might not even get funding. Maybe it might be an A24 thing or something. I'm not sure. Did A24 put this one out? No, this was three different. Okay, this is three different production companies, so maybe quite precarious in terms of who's funding it. But I think at the very least we'll get the second one out.
Well, it's because it's actually an extremely woke film in many ways. Well, not extremely, but it's a relatively woke film.
Yeah.
But because it's all white people in it and there's no transes and no one knows what the word woke actually means, I don't think it will provoke much of a backlash.
I feel like it's quite subtle. Like if you know it's there, then you see it.
Yeah.
But you could maybe ignorantly watch the movie and not.
Yeah, I
pick
mean,
up
if
on
you're
the
the sort
woke
of person who angrily throws the term woke around, you're probably not the sort of person that can recognise the quite clear as day critique of toxic masculinity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when I say subtle, I mean subtle to somebody like that.
So,
Obviously not to
yeah.
somebody who actually understands what's going on.
Well, the island is run by a woman. I mean, she still reinforces all the same rules of mythology, but I mean, in some ways, the mythology of the island is based around the Queen, which
Yeah.
just shows the project of just feminine identity, not just alone, but it really shows up in the relation they have to each other, especially with Vela and the infected mother. It's like it's like actual solidarity for like the pain that both of them have shared as mothers. And then there is like a really interesting like relation across those bonds there. And even when Kelson is like, yeah, how will I die? Oh, I'll die by like violence, or he doesn't say I'm going to be killed by the infected. So I might die by infection, by illness, or starvation, or violence. He doesn't say the infected. He says by violence, which implies that anyone who is violent can kill him.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely see what you mean when you say I'm a bit like Dr. Kelson. Like,
as soon as I saw like the scene where like he's just got all these bodies lined up in this like symmetrical pattern, and he's standing there, but he's obviously like he's just like waving and he's like being quite welcoming. They're like, he's a freak, he's weird, like what's he doing? They're like, ugh.
that's what people are like.
He's obviously doing that for like a reason, and they're not bothering to figure out the reason. They're just pointing it. I mean, but he's insane, but he's obviously like the most.
Dr. Kelson's got a spreadsheet for like which bodies he has to roast at which time.
Yeah.
Archie would be doing some shit. Archie would be like doing
like,
his own
Kelson
thing
has managed to generate his own iodine supply that hasn't gone off, and his own opium supply that hasn't gone off.
Yeah. Also, Bones absolutely full of phosphorus, great for fruiting plants, fruiting vegetables and things.
What does he eat?
He probably forages. It's probably ample foraging.
He has like a little like system like where there's like
the moat, yeah. No, as I said, that would be you. You're living off the land.
The rivers would be full of fish. The rivers would be. You see spike fishing, and then one of the infected takes his fish.
He's got some crops somewhere. He's probably growing some shit.
Yeah, I mean,
he's probably like harvested.
That would be inevitably mine. I'd be like, and the infected would be like, what is that? It's like, it's weed. You're gonna have to run quick. He just sees it as a big walking sandwich right now.
I'm sure he's got some tomato plants.
Getting the infected schemes. Like, it's like, so like, what's that fire? Oh, that's Farmer Archie. He used to be my.
Yeah. He's crazy.
He used to be my dealer. I don't know why people in the northeast are from the southwest, but we got that confused earlier on.
Yeah, but anyway, I thought it was really good. I'm really looking forward to it.
I really enjoyed it. And as I said, it's just such a so pretty to look at as well. It's so beautifully shot. Yeah.
It's really a rare sequel that's actually kind of an innovation rather than just being, hi, do you remember this? Yeah. You remember this? You remember this? You remember this? Remember that? I remember when I saw it, it was me, Jez, and his mate Theo. We saw it in a Canterbury Curzon. And I remember watching all the trailers and everything was like sequel, slop. And then it was like a trailer for this again, despite the fact we was already going to see it in the film.
Sequel, slop.
No, but it wasn't that. It was sequel, slop, David Cronenberg. And I was like, fucking hell, someone's still got ideas. I mean, if I was...
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, new Cronenberg called it The Shrouds. I mean, the man is always a genius. But in terms of movies there's another movie I wouldn't mind doing for PGT, which is, there's a new War of the Worlds adaptation. Not set in Woking, sadly.
Yeah, we did that. I've never seen any of the War of the Worlds.
I think so together because I haven't actually.
This new one is already being hailed as one of the worst movies of all time. That's how good it is.
Okay.
World's movie is what's called a screen life film. So it's a film set only through like a computer. So like it'd be like we're doing this right now, and then like the movie would be someone opens MS Teams, someone opens Zoom, like, and that's how the plot gets delivered to them. And
Oh, that's why
it stars
working.
Ice Cube. It's like a US government security guy who has to watch through like various Teams and Zoom calls. He watches like the Martian invasion.
The movie is like
Yeah, the entire movie is like watching someone's computer screen. It's that bad, and it's like the Martians invade the entire world, but instead of like taking our resources or being a metaphor for British colonialism, this time it's Ice Cube who has to go through a series of Zoom calls to defeat the Martians who want to steal our data because they want to train an AI.
That just sounds like my fucking job. I'm not watching that.
It's. What if Amazon made a whole version of War of the Worlds that's about selling their shit? I'm gonna watch it because it's gonna make me really angry, but I'm gonna write something about it.
Well,
it's so bad. It's gonna be. It's so bad. It might be kind of good because it's like 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What? That's like you have to watch it out of movie career.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, I love Ice Cube.
Huh?
Okay, how about this, Adam? Proposition. Why don't we watch the new David Cronenberg movie? Come to Croydon, and we can go to the Asian food court either before or after. There's a hot pot restaurant. Scarlett wants to try
let's go for some hot pot.
There's a hot pot right next to the cinema. Cinema, very lots on security. Things are extremely sneakable.
Good.
So
I always take a Maggie's to a cinema these days.
No, I don't think they.
Have you seen the Maggie snooze?
Yeah. I sent a picture of it to the group chat a while ago. I did buy it, and it doesn't really taste like Maggie's. It just gives you like a panic attack because it's basically a non-regulation snooze. It's basically fucking Norwegian style, and you have so much nicotine, you go like, oh, and then you just sort of collapse a little bit.
I'll have to. I'll get someone. I'll give him to Marius. I'll give him to Mark.
It's fucking disgusting. I'm off the snooze. Like if I drink and snooze, it's like just raise my blood sugar. So I'm like, oh, why am I so depressed?
Yeah, I can only enjoy nicotine after about.
I've gone to the refillable one of these, so you haven't got the guilt of throwing a battery away.
I've run out of cheap Chinese and Japanese fags now, and I've run out of Shea Baki, so
R.I.P.
Probably gonna wind down the tobacco front because
I don't smoke anymore.
At some point, I'm just gonna grow my own tobacco because I can.
Dr. Kel's own tobacco.
Yeah.
Memento dank. Remember, you must smoke.
Memento.
The infected are chasing us, so we need a good bright sativa to give us the energy to run away.
I need energy juice. I've been smoke weed.
When you need to smoke a bit of this Black Domina, send you right to sleep.
God.
Oh God. Well, I guess is that 28 years later?
I think that's 28 years later. I don't have an instructable plan, but I can probably do something.
The instruction is Memento Mori. How to remember that you're going to die.
Yeah. Maybe I could do a cooking one because I need to do some cooking.
Jesse, we need to cook.
Cooking.
I'm actually really hungry.
I can show you the art of spreadsheet cooking.
That is very useful, to be fair.
I'm gonna have to get dinner soon. I'm so.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a pie
Let's
on.
wrap it up. Right.
You said cooking, and I was like,
if I arrange it in time, the instructional
because this will be about 2 hours long. Cooking. So like, I think we can be all right.
Probably park it on the. But the next instructional for the next one will be how to do spreadsheet cooking, waft style.
Take a fucking cracking roast. All right.
Thank you for tuning in. I'll do a roast instructable. Then it's an excuse to have a roast.
Can we have a roast?
We'll do a roast. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and let us know in the comments what you thought of 28 weeks later. Sorry, 28 years later, and please let
28 weeks later.
And please let us know in the comments how many years it was between 2007 and 2025. If you can, only people of a 180 IQ can figure out this riddle. And
also, can you let us know if you think Cradle of Filth fucking sucks?
Yeah. Also, can you? I don't want any other comments. Just can you please reaffirm in the comment section? Cradle of Filth are fucking wank.
They're fucking wank.
Thank you for listening. Have a great day.
There we go.